your home for Kings talk and so much more.
Live and local.
Allen Stiles on Sacktown Sports.
Yes. On a Monday, Allen Stiles, Sacktown Sports, taking up to 2 p.m. And the stage is set. The Oklahoma City Thunder, the Indiana Pacers. Luxury tax, not on their watch. It's just all hoops. It's just great decisions being made on both sides. And let's be honest, a little bit of luck. And that's a lot of success stories. Whether you are the Pacers, who didn't have to face Dame Lillard for majority of the Bucks series, didn't have to face a fully loaded Cavs team, or the Knicks, who you're up 3-1, but Jason Tatum goes down. Sometimes it's about being prepared. Sometimes it's about luck. A lot of times it's about both. Or you're the Oklahoma City Thunder and you just took care of business. And you beat down everybody you had to beat down in order to get where you needed to go. But that's not what anybody wants to talk about. At least not in Sacramento. And I would say outside of Sacramento. Everybody wants to have the same. You take a shower, and I know there's a whole joke that goes around about who uses rags and who doesn't, right? Or loofahs when you shower. But if you use a wet rag or you use a loofah, you ever wring it out at the end, right? Because you don't want it to stay wet and, it can smell or whatever the case may be. So you wring it out as dry as you can be, and then you hang it up when you're done with your shower. I don't know how much more we can wring out this Tyrese Haliburton conversation. Good for Tyrese. And honestly, everybody should just be thankful at this point that with Tyrese's background in wrestling and how much he likes the WWE, he could be, it's almost sad because he could be even more rude to Sacramento. Tyrese is in another stratosphere. Tyrese is, he put out a video yesterday. He's trolling the New York Knicks, right? He had 50 Cent, I Run New York playing in the background as highlights ran of their series. Tyrese is not even thinking about Sacramento. And it's so funny to me, and I get it, it's all connected. But it's funny to me how we talk about Mike Brown and it turns into, hey, get over it, let's move on. We talk about De'Aaron Fox, hey, get over it, let's move on. But we can spend hours talking about Tyrese Haliburton, who the deal has already been done. And I would say this, are you turning down the Beam Team season? Now, we didn't know how things were going to go after the Beam Team season, but now you're sacrificing Beam Team season, the only happiness that Sacramento Kings have had. If you're 17 or 18 years old, it's the only happiness you've ever had in your life as a Sacramento Kings fan. And now we're doing the thing where Tyrese Haliburton and who he is now, everybody knew that, right? We talk about Warrior fans who they had the second pick and took James Wiseman, who's terrible. Oh, we could have had Tyrese. I saw something else. I think it said the Sixers. He thought the Sixers were going to take him. And now it turns into, well, even if De'Aaron wasn't on the table, they should have given up De'Aaron and a first rounder. Whatever it takes to keep this guy Tyrese. And a lot of people did feel like that. Don't get me wrong. But we're getting a little bit too far gone here. I feel like we're losing the plot. It's okay to understand that the Kings probably shouldn't have moved Tyrese Haliburton, but it's also okay to understand that nobody really thought that he would be this. That's why he went number 12. If people knew he'd be this, he wouldn't have even lasted to the Kings. So it's okay to be upset, but let's not do this thing where, oh my goodness, he should have been untouchable. We should have just given up 5 first rounders to get Sabonis instead of moving Tyrese. Let's not do that. Let's be smarter than that. Let's not let hindsight kind of get discombobulated because of what we're watching now. We don't have to do that. We can live in the world where a couple things make sense. So I don't really know what to go or where to go with this at this point in time, because we've done it over and over again. Carmichael Dave, who just left, and, we had crosstalk. I want to keep talking about it. Look, if the Kings aren't embarrassed from the last couple years, the last, 5-7 years, if they don't feel the embarrassment themselves from what just happened, they are a walking, talking meme. And I feel so bad for Kings fans because the Kings have done such a bad job that other fan bases and the NBA world doesn't even feel bad for Kings fans. You know how bad you have to be as an organization, and I'm not saying that I think they're this, but you know how bad you have to be optically that people feel worse for Mavs fans who have a championship, right, in their lifetime, for Mavs fans than they do the Sacramento Kings. There are owners running around that have done some ungodly things. And people still feel worse for those fan bases. And look, those fan bases have nothing to do with the owners. But you come to Sacramento, and the fact that it's almost, it's worse optically because it's just a joke, right? Am I a joke to you? That's how Kings fans should feel. Am I a joke to you, to the rest of the NBA world? And the answer is yes, right now. So I don't know that we need to go over every single thing because everybody else is doing it anyway. This is the only time the Kings get brought up national media, when people are talking about all the mistakes they've made over and over again. I'm getting texts from my friends that I do not talk to them about my job. They're seeing random memes about stuff that we talk about every single day. Kings passed on Luka. Kings trade Tyrese. Man, Al, this looks pretty rough. Yeah, it is. So it's not going to go away. And I'm not saying that Sacramento should be a safe haven because my calling card is keeping it real. But we get to a point where, okay, so what? Next, the Pacers are going to win the whole thing, and then we got to do the conversation again. And then next season, again, they lost. They bleeped up. It was bad. I don't know if the whole idea was to keep De'Aaron and Tyrese. This is what I asked yesterday. I asked the people. I said, so what exactly should the move have been, right? Do you just continue to move on with and I'm asking, I'm not saying that you shouldn't have traded Tyrese or should have traded Tyrese. I'm just asking, what is it that you wanted to see? Did you want to keep De'Aaron and Tyrese and see what happened there? Did you want to just lose De'Aaron for lesser assets? Maybe go get a Zubac or somebody that would be a little bit cheaper and see what happened with Tyrese? What exactly do you think they should have done? And I got a lot of great responses. A lot of people said, yeah, should have just moved De'Aaron for less assets, things like that. But I'll tell you this much. I don't think anybody was thinking that in 2023 when De'Aaron was clutch player of the year and he was balling out against Steph Curry. I was talking about that then. So you take gambles. Sometimes they work out. Sometimes they don't. I don't think the Kings should have moved Tyrese Haliburton. But as we've talked about on this show, it's not as much about moving Tyrese Haliburton as much as it's about everything they did after. So if you're going to move somebody that has that type of pedigree, you better not miss. And the Kings missed in every single capacity after that. We continue to talk about. Tyrese Haliburton's going to have a great career. The Kings could have been set up for success. We talk about Tyrese. Look who won Eastern Conference MVP. Now, maybe it should have been Tyrese, but look who won it. Pascal Siakam.
This is the Larry Bird Trophy.
That's right.
It goes to the MVP of the Eastern Conference Finals. And that MVP is Pascal Siakam.
Look who won it. Look who won it. And by the way, Tyrese thought he was going to win it. Those memes are hilarious. But a wing, right? Tyrese is that facilitator, a creator like we talked about. But as far as being a pure number one, I don't know that he's that. That was the conversation last season. I don't know that he's that. I don't know that he has to be that on this team because they got Pascal Siakam, they got Miles Turner. They just make sense. And who would have thought on June 2nd of 2025, I'd be defending De'Aaron Fox because we now know the information that came out said that De'Aaron wanted a wing. De'Aaron didn't say, I have to be number one, build around me. He never said that. De'Aaron wanted to be in a situation where maybe he gets snubbed for the Western Conference MVP. And it goes to, if not Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby, somebody like that. He told them over and over again. So I can think Tyrese Haliburton is a better player than De'Aaron, but I can also believe that it's not about the trade as much as it's about what they did after the trade. But people in the national media, national basketball, they're not going to talk about that. They're just going to bag on Sacramento. But it's deeper than that. I do think Tyrese is better than De'Aaron Fox. I do think that. And I said that months ago. I didn't think that going into this season, but I said that a little bit throughout the season. And obviously we'll see what De'Aaron does when he gets his finger fixed and things like that. But it's more so about what happened after the trade. Even if Tyrese is a little bit better than De'Aaron, Domantas Sabonis, you had De'Aaron Fox, Pascal Siakam didn't want to go, right? He didn't think it would work. Well, watch Miles Turner play and watch Domantas Sabonis play, and it makes a lot of sense. And oh, my goodness, Pascal Siakam doesn't want to be in Sacramento. No, Pascal Siakam is a basketball mind. Pascal Siakam is a champion. He said, okay, I can rebound a good bit. I can do some things in the paint. My three-pointer is coming along, but I'm not a sniper from three-point range. Does it make sense for me to play with a Domantas Sabonis? Well, like I said, I don't really need somebody to grab 13 rebounds a game because I can rebound. So Miles Turner, even though he's not the best rebounding big, more of a stretch five, he can stretch the floor for us. So I can do things within the paint. That makes more sense to me. So you make certain decisions, and those decisions obviously snowball. But I'm not going to sit here and wring out the same rag. Now, we can try to do it differently and talk about the moves, but it's done. It's over. It's over. The Pacers won. Did the Pacers win because they got Tyrese Haliburton? Or did the Pacers win because they made the correct moves after getting Tyrese Haliburton? Just like a lot of things in life, both things can be true. The stage is set. The Thunder are overwhelming favorites. The Stockton Kings lose another coach. And you're not going to want to miss, I have a specific story on this from the River Cats game. I ran into somebody very connected to the Stockton Kings. So I have that story for you. Domantas Sabonis is headed somewhere you would never guess, at least according to Bovada. We will break all that down. Of course, we have our trade candidate. We're over time, so I'll give you the trade candidate hints on the other side. And at the end of the day, we have a conversation about overrated, underrated, properly rated, the quarterbacks, the young quarterbacks, and what will happen to some of the bigger names that we've been talking about in the free agent and trade market. Allen Stiles, Stockton Sports.
This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products and next-day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This message comes from Viking, committed to exploring the world in comfort. Journey through the heart of Europe on an elegant Viking longship with thoughtful service, destination-focused dining, and cultural enrichment on board and on shore. With small ships that bring travelers closer to the destination, there's more time to explore. And every Viking voyage is all-inclusive, with no children and no casinos. Discover more at Viking.com.
your home for Kings talk and so much more.
Live and local.
Allen Stiles on Sacktown Sports.
Taking you up to 2 p.m. Allen Stiles, Sacktown Sports. We are breaking down some of the reports that are coming out now, and I don't really know what to do with some of this stuff. Domantas Sabonis is going where exactly? We have that for you in a second. 916-339-1140. Chase calling off the top of the show, so we know it must be important. Chase wants to be a part of the conversation. What's up, Chase? What you got for us?
Alan, this was a very disappointing season, and I know a lot of fans probably are frustrated with the team's lack of direction and ownership. For me, the only way that this team gets better this offseason is if they embrace a rebuild and tank next year. There's a prime spot at the bottom of the Western Conference next year with all the young teams like Portland, San Antonio, Dallas with Cooper Flag, presumably, and Utah, that this team needs to unload Zach, Domas, Malik, and every veteran on this roster. The only guys that should be around are Keegan Murray, Keon Ellis, and Devin Carter. They need to embrace the OKC-style rebuild. They need to grab any and all assets that they can, invest in their player development and drafting, and go into a small market rebuild, because I am sure that the majority of fans next year will appreciate a young, competitive team rather than the garbage we were cemented to last year.
Thanks for the call, Chase. Great stuff. And, it's not about me wanting to rebuild. I don't drive guys. They go back and forth. And Draper says, well, I don't necessarily want to tank. I was listening to them on Friday. Look, for me, it's not whether I want them to tank or not want them to tank. They're just not going to do it, Chase. They're not going to do it. You know what I mean? So to me, it's more about that's what the report came out from not too long ago, but we already knew that in Sacramento, right? I think it was Mark Stein on his Substack, but we already knew that. They're not going to do it. The ownership, they would rather, I honestly think the ownership would rather get 2 play-in games every single season. Get 2 play-in games, right? Be the 7 or 8 seed and lose, or be the 9-10 seed and win. I believe over the next 5 years, if you gave them truth serum, and you might not even have to give them that, and you said, hey, would you rather have 2 play-in games, one being at home or possibly 2 being at home, depending on where it is, would you rather have 2 play-in games the next 5 years or tank starting next year? I honestly think that they would say, like I said, they might not want to say it out loud, but I honestly think, well, everybody's wearing those shirts and we do get play-in revenue. That's just who they are. That's who they are. That's who y'all signed up for.
Well, and the other part of it is when you go down that strategy, we can talk all about like the community will rally around a young team that's proven and driven, but these rebuilds are 3 to 4 years long. And so if you look at every rebuild, Oklahoma City, Houston, Detroit, whoever you want to go down the line to, Utah, you can go back further to other teams. That team, the first year, 80 to 85% of the guys on that team will not be on the team when they're ready to compete again. Like, you're signing up for a long turnaround with, even if you don't want to make it play-in revenue or whatever you want to call it, 50 to 60 of those games just become completely irrelevant next season because it's all about 14% chances in the lottery and trade deadline transactions and taking on bad contracts for draft picks. It's really not a fun experience to go through. I just understand people who make the point the benefits on the other side are worth the loss, which I personally would say you don't want that.
Yes.
But I understand different people coming to different conclusions.
We have to remember this, folks. And this is not me defending the Kings. This is me just saying what it is. For every OKC and for every Houston Rockets, there's a Charlotte Hornets, there's a Washington Wizards. Hell, I'd even say the Blazers Chase brought up the Blazers, and it was a great call, but I don't know what the Blazers are doing. I don't know that the Blazers are going to make the playoffs within the next 2 years. I have no clue.
Their rebuild has produced Scoot Henderson. Again, don't even count the Tamani Kamaras and everything else. Like, they got Tamani Kamara for Damian Lillard. Their rebuild has produced Shaedon Sharpe, not a future star in most people's minds. Scoot Henderson, not really a future star in a lot of people's minds. And Donovan Klingon, not a future star. So they could have done the Indiana model of one top draft pick, a couple shrewd trades, and we're back in contention instead of doing the full teardown, and it might have produced better results.
Yeah, so I just say that to say there's no perfect way to do this, and that's why I kicked off the show saying it takes good moves, but it also takes a little bit of luck, and I don't think anybody would tell you otherwise. I was double checking some of the timeline stuff because, you know, when we look at who's a good owner and who's a bad owner, the years, right, where Steph Curry was drafted and Joe Lacob kind of took over as majority owner of the Warriors, we're talking about a year. Joe Lacob, did he purchase it because I know Steph Curry's going to be that guy? I don't think so. A little bit of luck. Now Joe Lacob is a great owner. Is he a great owner, or is Steph Curry on his team? That's all part of it too.
Well, also sometimes the great owner is the owner that doesn't do the wrong thing, right?
But I would say Joe Lacob has had to been talked off the ledge. I would know. He's had to been talked off the ledge a couple times. Now the difference is you can get to the ledge, right, and get talked off. I don't know what the situation or what the conversations are based on the Athletic article with Mr. Vivek and whether or not he's clearly not getting talked off ledges if there are even conversations being had about ledges. If somebody, and that's kind of what we heard. Does Monty, as a basketball mind, and I know we'll be hard on Monty, but does Monty really think that Zach LaVine recreating the Bulls was a good idea? That was the biggest thing. It should have been fairly obvious to people, and I believe this was in the Athletic article, should have been fairly obvious to people that this was not a full-blown Monty move, because Monty, as a basketball mind, is looking at the Bulls saying, well, why would we want to create something that didn't work? Moving on from De'Aaron Fox, was that actually Monty's decision? That's the difference, to your point, Kyle, between, hey, you know, sometimes you just gotta, these guys, they're owners, right? They are extremely successful. And I've joked about it before. If I was owner, you couldn't tell me nothing. If I was owner, you could not tell me nothing. I don't even know if you could talk me off the ledge.
Sure, but it's also not black and white, right? Because the Athletic story said there was debate between whether or not Monty McNair had full control. Like, some people in the organization had doubts, some people in the organization didn't. But if there's intervention on that deal, the De'Aaron Fox one, there wasn't any intervention on trading Tyrese Haliburton. So it comes and goes. I know some people are making jokes about the Knicks. Like, ever since the Sphere opened in New York, which is also owned by James Dolan, the Knicks have had their winning percentage increase. And it's like James Dolan just stopped being involved in the Knicks as much as he was. And all of a sudden the Knicks became this team that's now a conference finalist. So I think it comes and goes, right? It's never black and white. It's just how much sometimes you slip over your own banana peel, and sometimes for better or for worse, right? Because maybe they should have intervened on the Tyrese Haliburton trade. Maybe it would have gone better in the long run. Who knows? It's hard to know, but it's not always concrete, like you are a bad organization and that's end of story.
There was pressure within the organization for Monty McNair and this team to make the playoffs. That is where this trade came from with Tyrese Haliburton. They made the playoffs 1 year, and Monty McNair gets fired a couple years later. This is what we're dealing with. So you make a move because of the pressure. The move works. Other things happen, and then you get canned anyway, and now you've lost I don't know if we're calling Tyrese a generational talent, but you've lost an elite talent in this league. That's what you call hustling backwards. When we return, the conversation continues. Domantas Sabonis is heading where, according to Bovada, and a little bit of motivation from the future of the Kings. Allen Stiles, Sacramento Sports.
Febreze. As a rideshare driver, I love keeping my car smelling fresh and clean. So when I'm driving, I only trust Febreze car vent clips, featuring 3 distinct intensity settings, because it's that little touch that sets me apart. I can turn the intensity down for subtle freshness, or I can turn it up for when I want lots of scent. So whether it's set to low, medium, or high, with Febreze car, I know my car's going to smell amazing. Which keeps my driver rating right where it belongs. Picking up Oscar!
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-646-5959. That's 800-646-5959. 800-646-5959.
Progressive knows if you have to choose between everyday life and your RV wins.
What, are you going to take the RV to the mountains or go pick up your dry cleaning? RV wins! Are we cleaning the gutters or taking the RV camping? RV wins! Are we getting a new passport or cruising up the coast? RV wins!
Don't forget, you got that trip to Sweden coming up.
Oh, yeah, passport, then RV.
With Progressive, you can bundle your RV with your home or auto and save with a discount and spend more time enjoying those savings in your RV. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states and situations.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Chuck McDowell here again. Over the years, I've seen way too many timeshare exit companies pop up, take folks' money, and disappear. I just saw an ad from an exit company started by a couple of bozos that used to work for me. My advice, don't hire bozos I'll fire. Want out of your timeshare? I'll send you our free timeshare exit info kit explaining your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley for your free kit. Call 800-995-2929. That's 800-995-2929.
Finally, an easy way to find home improvement contractors. Just visit subcontractorsunited.com and simplify your search for home services professionals. From cabinets to windows, roofing to plumbing, Subcontractors United is an easy, simple way to find and hire a home improvement contractor. And you never have to give up personal information. So no harassing phone calls like you get from those other websites. Subcontractorsunited.com is sponsored by D&D Cabinets and Savage Design.
The Giant Summer Sale is here. Get giant savings on our giant selection only at Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop.
Looking to own or lease? Save during the Giant Summer Sale and drive a brand new Accord or Civic. Visit us today at FolsomLakeHonda.com, your one-stop Honda shop.
As a family-owned and operated dealership since 2009, customer service is our #1 priority. Our customers love doing business with us, and you will too.
Folsom Lake Honda. Go to FolsomLakeHonda.com.
Your one-stop Honda shop. If your passion is bass fishing, only one radio show has the action, information, and excitement of your favorite outdoor sport. Ultimate Bass, hosted by Tournament Bass Pro and California Outdoor Hall of Famer Kent Brown, takes you live to where the fish are biting every Saturday morning. Only Ultimate Bass feeds your passion with the latest news, products, tips, and advice from the pros. Ultimate Bass with Kent Brown, Saturday mornings at 5 a.m. on Sacktown Sports 1140, part of SEP's Saturday Morning Outdoors.
With 25 award-winning years in Northern California, Ashton & Price is your local injury law firm. Pro attorney tip, if a firm presents as local but they're in LA, red flag. If your first consultation is not with a lawyer, big red flag. At Ashton & Price, your first consult is with a local attorney, and if serious injury prevents travel, a lawyer will come to you. Still not enough? George Washington's my uncle. At Ashton & Price, no red flags, just red, white, and blue.
Remember, for the best advice, don't think twice. Call Ashton & Price.
Allen Stiles. Watch the show on youtube.com/Sacktown Sports 1140.
Or listen on the Sacktown Sports app.
Phone lines are ringing because we're talking Kings ownership. We're still going to tell you where Bovada thinks Domantas Sabonis is going to land. Want to get through these calls, though, where everybody's blood is pumping. I did want to read something first. We have a choice regarding the approach we will have for each day. We cannot change our past. We cannot change the fact that people will act in a certain way. We cannot change the inevitable. The one thing we can do is rely on the only thing that we can control, our attitude, in all caps. Let's embrace a positive, winning mindset each and every day. Hashtag Monday Motivation. That is from your new GM, Scott Perry. There's a little bit of positivity there.
I'm all in favor of positivity. It is also kind of corny.
That's fine. People think Tyrese Haliburton's corny.
Well, every star in the NBA now, at least the young kids, are all corny, except Anthony Edwards.
That brother's in the finals. 916-339-1140. We see Mark on the line. We get to TC, who I think wants to keep the positivity going. What's up, TC? What you got for us?
Hey, before we get started, right on Vivek, it's not really corny, bro, on what Scott Perry is doing. He's just motivating people, bro. And honestly, you want to see a brain like that in charge. The way he's thinking, he's a guy that can work with Uncle V, bro. So it's not corny, bro. It's just being a mastermind and letting people know where your mind is, bro, and getting bigger. So that's all it is. It's not corny, bro. As far as V wants a winner, dog. He wants a winner. He lets you do what you do, right? Monty McNair, Vladdy, I'll let you do what you do, and I'm going to back you, and I'll stay out the way. But when I feel like you're not making moves and you're piddle-peddling what Monty was doing in Vladdy, playing with picks and drafting people and doing this, then that's when he gets involved. And he's like, well, I'm going to do it my way now. I'm going to fire you anyway, but on the way out, get a guy that I've been wanting. Bring Zach here. Fox is leaving anyway. Give me a guy that I want on the way out.
Thanks for the call, TC. I'm not sure I agree. Well, here's the thing, though. Who is, besides the owner, which is, the difference between a founder and an owner is a big deal, right? If somebody, Mark Zuckerberg, right? If he founded, well, if you watch the movie Social Network, those twins would have something to say about it, but he founded Facebook. So I trust Mark Zuckerberg over anybody else. Not that he's always going to be right, but Mark Zuckerberg saying something as far as, hey, I don't think that we should move Meta in this direction, something like that. This brother created it. So I trust Mark Zuckerberg a lot more than I trust Elon Musk to handle X Twitter. Not because I like one person more than the other, because Elon, based on other ventures that he was wildly successful in, was able to purchase X. But Elon did not create X. Elon was not the founder of X. So I trust Mark Zuckerberg and his ideas, not that he's always going to be right, way more than I would trust in Elon Musk, because Elon, yeah, wildly successful, but not based on what he's going on in the social media space. Vivek is the owner of the Kings, but he's not the owner based on his basketball acumen. So who is he besides the owner, the guy who signs the checks and takes all the revenue, to say, oh, Monty, I don't like what you're doing, I'm going to hop in? Like I said, I'd probably do the same thing if I were him. But I would understand that if I'm wrong on some things, I'm going to get roasted.
That doesn't justify making a bad trade either,
No.
which we've talked at length about, is that Jake Fisher's quote, you asked 100 executives, they would say 100 people, 100 out of 100 would say the Kings did not get enough back for De'Aaron Fox.
And again, we have ideas of how all of that went down, but we don't specifically know. 916-339-1140. Mark wants to be part of the convo. What's up, Mark? What you got for us?
Hey, good morning, gentlemen. A long time calling in, but just happened to be in the vehicle when you guys were talking about the owner of the Kings. So I'm not going to say, but I was with the organization on a very, very, very low level years ago. Been through 3 owners. Then Vivek Ranadive decided to buy the team, saving the Kings from going to Seattle. All that, which was great. But let's be real about this. Vivek Ranadive is not an owner. I think he's a very difficult man to work with. I think he's very high demanding. I don't think he has a lot of patience with some of the things that he's done. I mean, I'll give one example. Vlade Divac being hired as the GM was probably the worst move they could have ever made. And it was only made at that time for marketing purposes because Vlade was a very popular guy, and the Kings were spiraling. This owner has been trying to build his team through the Golden State Warriors, which is very telling. Now the Golden State Warriors are a very successful franchise. But some of the things that, this guy has done, and I'll give an example early on in his ownership, when he tried to tell a head coach how to run an offense because he ran his daughter's basketball team. I don't think there's a lot of respect for Vivek Ranadive within the NBA. I don't think he's looked at as one of the group. Is constantly in flux. The Mike Brown situation, I mean, this guy uses, Vivek Ranadive uses social media to fire coaches. I mean, what type of person is that?
Yeah. Thanks for the call, Mark. Great stuff. And yeah, we've heard from Mark before, and he always has good insight from being in the building. I can't speak to how Vivek is viewed, right? I think that's more of an opinion based on, what else is going on in the NBA. I do think that there are a couple paths that owners can take, and I think that Vivek has struggled to choose a path, right? You can be the kind of the silent owner that just kind of stays out of the way, signs the checks, collects the money. You can be the outspoken owner, the Mark Cubans of the world, guys like that. And Vivek kind of finds himself, but you're also, the Matt Ishbias of the world. But if you're going to be that guy or gal, you have to be that in full. You can't want to be around when things are going well, and then when things aren't going well, you run and hide. That's what I think people don't appreciate, right? You're sitting front and center in games on ticket prices that you've hiked up. You got 50 Cent and a bunch of random people in the crowd, but when it's time to answer questions for your fan base, you got nothing. You're nowhere to be found. They just introed a new coach, a new GM, the midst of all this stuff that happened and came out in The Athletic, and you have said nothing. You have said nothing. I sit there and I joke about Joe Lacob, as Mark brought up. He's trying to copy the Warriors. Well, they don't have Steph Curry. Let me see. What are the issues with trying to copy the Warriors? Oh yeah, they don't have the best shooter of all time. It's going to be hard to do that. And they're not alone, right? The Rockets, they were crazy with James Harden chucking up a bunch of threes. We know the Warriors do more than that, but you understand what I'm saying. But Joe Lacob, 10 minutes after the buzzer and the Kings and the Warriors season ending, Joe Lacob is talking straight up to Anthony Slater and Marcus Thompson, and they put out an article the next day. Not based on what they think or whatever. They have quotes from Joe Lacob. So that's the difference. That's the difference. You want to be out in the fold. You want to be out front and center. You got to be it fully. It's front running, but it's not even front running because your team stinks. On the other side, we tell you where Domantas Sabonis is headed. And, well, according to Bovada, I got to keep saying that. And we give you the clues for today's trade candidate of the day. I think this is a tough one, by the way. Allen Stiles, Sacramento Sports.
What he'll never have is the love I have for you. What he'll never have. The smash hit from Dylan Scott appears on the brand new album, Easy Does It. The album also features the #1 song, This Town's Been Too Good to Us.
This town's been too good to us.
Until I Can, I Will.
I'll do whatever it takes. Yeah, believe me when I say till I can, I will.
Dylan Scott. Search, follow, and listen now on all music streaming services. Sponsored by Curb Records.
Pro Paint Days are back at Lowe's, and My Lowe's Pro Rewards members can save even more with limited time deals. Right now, buy one, get one half off. Select HGTV Home by Sherwin-Williams Primer and Ceiling Paint. Plus, get free same-day delivery to your job site when you order by 2 p.m. Offer valid through 6/13, delivery by 8 p.m. Subject to driver availability. Additional terms apply. See Lowe's.com/same-day delivery for details.
Hello, Sacramento. I'm Emran Pilati, owner of True Sports Cards and Collectible Store here in Rockland, California, and the host of the True Sports Cards Show that airs right here on Sacktown Sports 1140 every Saturday from 10 to 11 a.m., where we discuss the latest trends, hottest products, and deliver exclusive interviews with other industry leaders. And don't forget to visit our shop, True Sports Cards, at 6661 Stanford Ranch Road in Rockland and see what we have for all your sports card and memorabilia needs.
At Valley Strong Credit Union, we know that local businesses are the backbone of the Central Valley, investing in our neighborhoods, boosting the economy, making the Valley stronger. But when it comes to their finances, where can they turn? A big bank that just sees another number? That's not good enough. Valley businesses deserve Valley support for payroll, credit, cash flow, and everything in between. Valley Business is Valley Strong. Learn how our cash management services can support your business at valleystrong.com.
Staples presents That Was Easy.
So we had a huge new business pitch.
Attention, all hands on deck.
When, boom, our only printer was fried.
Up in smoke, like your chances of landing that account.
Well, I just sent the file to Staples. Devin, the print associate, was on it. She had it printed and bound same day.
So where's the drama?
There wasn't any. Staples made it super easy.
Inconceivable. For the product, services, and experts you need, Staples.
That was easy.
In-store, online, and on the app.
This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products and next-day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
When you're young, life is full of choices. Don't let opioids like highly addictive and deadly fentanyl take away your life with just one wrong pill. Addiction is a disease that can affect anyone at any age. But there is a choice to get help for this disease. Find medically proven treatment options, including virtual, at choosemat.org.
People are coming from all over to Sacramento Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, from Folsom, Elk Grove, Woodland, Roseville, because they've seen for themselves the huge selection and the best prices at SacSuperstore.com. Good luck finding a lower price anywhere else. And if you do, they'll match it. It's as simple as that. Sacramento Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, where a handshake still means something. Open until 10 o'clock and essentially located right across from Hagen Oaks Golf Course. And online at SacSuperstore.com. The guaranteed lowest price and the best selection of Dodge, Chrysler, Jeeps, and Rams. SacSuperstore.com.
Allen Stiles
You can join the show by texting 916-339-1140.
on Sacktown Sports.
Taking you up to 2 p.m. All right. I'm saying this hint now so we don't forget, or I don't forget. A big, long wing, very young, Western Conference.
Former top 5 pick.
Bounced out of the starting rotation.
I think we're good there.
Okay.
I think that's enough. Okay. Western Conference, lengthy wing, former top 5 pick, young, not in the starting rotation.
I guess any more. That's what we got for you.
I think that's enough.
Their team made the playoffs.
Allen.
I think that we had to say that.
Let the people get. We have a smart audience, Sack Chat, YouTubers. We got smart people. They'll be able to figure it out.
I'm done. So that's coming up in 15 minutes, and this is a different one. This is a different beast than what we've dealt with before, because it would be helping the team maybe more so get younger versus win right now. So that's coming up. Maybe both. That's coming up in 15 minutes. All right. It's time to discuss the Domantas Sabonis odds and how this is written as far as Bovada is concerned. The odds on the next star to land in Toronto. Drew Holiday at plus 900. If you're not familiar with betting, that essentially means you have to bet $100 to win $900. So Drew Holiday, I should at least start at the 1,000. So Jamal Murray is plus 1,000.
Canadian.
Drew Holiday is plus 900. DeMar DeRozan is plus 800. Zach LaVine is plus 600, tied with Giannis Antetokounmpo at plus 600. But the shortest odds for the next star to land in Toronto, 66666, Domantas Sabonis at plus 500. That's what we're doing now when it comes to the and I asked straight up, where is Bovada getting this stuff? I think the idea is that they're hearing things, or is it just a bit random? I feel like it's a little bit of both. But Domantas Sabonis in Toronto, and I have no clue what in the world. You know, it's so funny because a lot of us said, this is before the Kings got DeMar DeRozan, but we didn't think DeMar DeRozan would work. And for a large part, it didn't. Not that we saw a bunch of games, but it didn't work. We also were saying no to Brandon Ingram because we didn't know how that would work particularly well. But funny enough, a year or two later, Domantas Sabonis with the best odds now, bet 100 to win 500. Those aren't incredible odds. It's not as if they truly feel like Domantas Sabonis is going to go there, but when you have a plus 1,800 for Kevin Durant, plus 2,500 for Devin Booker, and then you get to the shorter odds, you got Giannis at plus 600, Domantas Sabonis at plus 500, it means something. And all of a sudden, he's now going to go to Toronto to play with Brandon Ingram, and I still don't know how that works. I don't know off the top of my head, and this just came out this morning, I believe, or late last night, when you look at the Kings and the Raptors, what the Raptors have, you know, the conversations we just had as far as what the Kings should do in the blow-up conversation, I don't know if the Raptors, if this were to actually happen, it's that $43.6 million. Okay, well, you have Emmanuel Quickley at $32 a year, which feels like a little pricey.
He was their best offensive player last year.
I hear you. I don't know how Emmanuel Quickley and Malik Monk exist on the same squad.
Let's not worry about that, because
I'm just saying, money-wise, there's only the Raptors. It's going to be a conversation where they got to move somebody to move that 43 mil to match the 43 million.
Well, yeah, it's going to be either Quickley or a combination of Barrett and one of those bench players making a lot of money.
So Barrett, Jakob Poeltl, and a bunch of picks, or Grady Dick and a couple less picks?
Yeah.
Is that what we're doing?
Well, yeah, but again, if you're making that move for Sabonis specifically, because I do think it's funny that all the people on the list are just Kings. They're just like, if anyone's going to move stars,
it's going to be that trash team in Sacramento.
Well, not that trash team. It's the only way multiple, like, I don't think that, I don't know for sure. I don't think that many stars are going to get moved, but if it's not Giannis, it's then going to be whoever Giannis goes to, the star they're giving up getting rerouted to another team is probably the best odds. But in the meantime, everyone's just like, well, Sacramento might blow it all up. Sure, why not?
Yeah, so out of the 4 best odds for who Bovada thinks the next star will be to land in Toronto, 3 of them are currently on the Sacramento Kings. And the other one is Giannis. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, so it'd have to be some combination of Quickley, Barrett, and Jakob Poeltl. I mean, I'm just assuming that if they want to make that all-in move, they want to keep Scotty Barnes and Brandon Ingram, just because that's the whole point of...
Exactly. That's their big 3.
Yeah, so, yeah, it's probably would be... by the way, even if it's Zach LaVine, right, you could make the case of Zach LaVine getting traded for RJ Barrett and Jakob Poeltl, or RJ Barrett and Abaji and the Kings get a trade exception or something. I don't know. Like, you could make that case no matter who it is.
I'm open. I'm willing.
Because you would assume Toronto wants to keep the big three of Quickly, Ingram, and Scotty Barnes together if they're making an all-in move.
Yeah. I would be very interested in moving off of one of the big contracts. Zach LaVine, Domantas Sabonis. I would probably rather move Zach LaVine simply because he hasn't been out here as long. And yeah, you go. I think if you are the Raptors, they're literally watching what happens when you don't have a point guard. So I think the Raptors would say, we'll give you RJ Barrett and a little bit more versus giving you Emmanuel Quickly, because I think they still need a maestro.
Well,
you move Emmanuel Quickly and add Zach LaVine. Now the Raptors are a version of the Sacramento Kings in Toronto with no point guard.
Well, Quickly's also just better is the thing, right? Like, when they made that trade, I think everyone thought RJ was going to be the key piece of the OG Anunoby trade. It's been Emmanuel Quickly. Like, you could make the case that the Knicks would have been better off just keeping Emmanuel Quickly. Like, RJ Barrett, whatever. He's a fine player. I think you could make the argument the Knicks might have been better off just keeping Emmanuel Quickly because he offensively is very, very good.
Yeah. Yeah, but no, you can't do that because Knicks went to the playoffs, and the only team that is allowed to have regrets is the Sacramento Kings. Let's not forget that. That's the only team that's made a mistake. Okay, the Clippers didn't make a mistake moving SGA because they made the playoffs.
Okay, well, I don't want to be that guy, but I also think we're being a little bit hindsight 2020 on this SGA Paul George trade.
How?
Because people think of it like they gave up all these picks and SGA. First of all, the Thunder didn't even believe SGA the whole way through. They tried to trade SGA along the way. 2, it wasn't just for Paul George. They got Kawhi Leonard and Paul George in exchange for all of that stuff because Kawhi wasn't going to sign with them if not for making that trade. So if you think of it like they got the package deal to make that trade, you give up all the draft picks you want if it means you also get Kawhi Leonard in his prime coming off a finals MVP.
I hear what you're trying to do, but I'm just literally saying what the trade was.
It wasn't great in hindsight for the Clippers, but saying like the Clippers were so dumb for doing it is very hindsight 2020.
But that is my whole point about the Kings as well. They didn't even get to a finals, the Clippers. They didn't even get to a finals. The Kings, they made a move to get, now they wanted to be in the playoffs more than 1 year, but the Kings made a move to get to the you could argue it was a bad move, but you could also argue that they did achieve what they wanted to achieve. It was just a dumb level of achievement. We want to make a move to make the playoffs. Again, they assumed that they would be in the playoffs not just for 1 year, right? And if Big Luka doesn't flop on Malik, maybe they make the playoffs 2 years in a row. The Clippers made a move, and I get it. And maybe to your point, Kyle, that's why they don't get as much flack as the Kings. But they made a move to win the championship. They didn't even get to a finals. They haven't even – they have been – if you were to compare, I think it's really close between who tricked off. It's going to be – and when I say it's close between who tricked off their trade worse between the Clippers and the Kings, I'm talking relatively speaking. So I'm not talking about the fact that the Clippers make the playoffs. You have Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. You're supposed to make the playoffs. Then you added James Harden.
Yeah.
You're supposed to make the playoffs.
Sure, and I would also make the point, like, yes, the Clippers won 4 playoff series with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard together. They made 1 conference finals. They made it to the second round in the bubble, which honestly, I think they would have won the championship had the league not shut down.
Didn't they blow a 3-1 lead at one point?
Yeah, in the bubble against the Nuggets because they all hated each other, according to Lou Williams, because they all hated each other and they just wanted to go home. But it's also... And the Beam team probably felt better than a lot of that run did for Clippers fans, too, because the Clippers fans had to deal with the Kawhi injury stuff for so long. I'm sure it felt just as good, but it also took 6 years for the Thunder to finally cash in on the SGA chip versus the Tyrese trade. That happened immediately. Like within 2 years, you knew, we kind of just messed this thing up. It wasn't a slow burn in the same way that the Thunder one was.
Yeah, and I understand what people will say when it comes to, well, the Clippers still got this. Meanwhile, the Kings didn't do anything. But again, the same thing I've continued to say, it's about what the Kings did post-trade, not the actual trade, versus I think with the Clippers, it kind of just was the actual trade. And that's why I would say, hey, both bad situations, but we talk about, not just in Sacramento, I think everybody talks about the Kings more. I think people understand LA will always be okay, right? Even if you're the Clippers, I feel like people, funny enough, bag on the Kings more because their thought process is, you're Sacramento. You're not going to get a lot of opportunities like this. The Clippers didn't make it work, and the Clippers, a lot of people think they're cursed. The Clippers didn't make it work, but they're LA. They go out, they're able to get James Harden. They're always, they got Steve Ballmer, who has more money than God. They're always going to have an opportunity, whereas it's a tougher blow for the Kings because they're not. 11 o'clock coming up next. Who is and I see somebody got it right on the Sack Chat. Who is the long young wing in the Western Conference who got bounced out of the rotation that we are trying to trade for today? Allen Stiles, Stockton Sports.
I'm Ken Korak with your Green and Gold Report, brought to you by Comcast Business, powering possibilities. Well, when the A's broke their losing streak to finish the last homestand, it was a special day for Logan Davidson and Willie McIver. Each guy got his first major league hit. And for McIver, who grew up an A's fan, he drove in the go-ahead run in the bottom of the eighth inning and threw out the potential tying run to end the game. A storybook finish to a special afternoon. Comcast Business helps turn today's small businesses into engines of modern business. It's how restaurants become reliably up and running neighborhood favorites. It's how retailers become seamlessly restocking, cyber-securing must-visit shops. And it's how healthcare offices become data-managing caregivers that we all depend on. With reliable connectivity, enhanced cybersecurity, advanced fiber solutions, and Wi-Fi backup, Comcast Business is powering the engine of modern business.
Allen Stiles here with your Sacktown Sports Injury Update, brought to you by Downtown LA Law Group. Jose Leclerc, right-handed pitcher out with that right lat strain, recently began playing catch, though the A's expect a long recovery process before he returns to action. Gio Urshela had an MRI which confirmed a left hamstring strain. He is sidelined from baseball activity for the time being with no timeline for a return yet. That was your Sacktown Sports Injury Update, brought to you by Downtown LA Law Group. Hey, I'm Allen Stiles. Have an injury? Call Downtown. Downtown LA Law Group, an injury law firm, has many happy clients in Sacramento and the surrounding areas who have called Downtown. Get paid for your injuries from slip and falls or auto accidents. One of their most recent settlements was $1.5 million for a motorcycle accident. Have you had an auto accident? Call Downtown. Text injury help to 40222. That's injury help to 40222 and visit them at calldowntown.com.
The Giant Summer Sale is here. Get giant savings on our giant selection only at Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop.
Looking to own or lease? Save during the Giant Summer Sale and drive a brand new Accord or Civic. Visit us today at FolsomLakeHonda.com, your one-stop Honda shop.
As a family-owned and operated dealership since 2009, customer service is our number one priority. Our customers love doing business with us, and you will too.
Folsom Lake Honda.
Go to FolsomLakeHonda.com.
Your one-stop Honda shop.
Summer's almost here, and so are popsicles, pool days, and a lot of smiling. Make sure your kiddo's smile is ready with a visit to Kids Care Dental and Orthodontics. Our expert team makes dental visits easy and fun with sensory-friendly hours for kids who need a calmer environment. We can also accommodate same-day treatments, and to save you time, if your child needs multiple treatments, we can often do them all at once. Appointments fill up fast, so don't wait. Beat the summer rush and schedule online at kidscaredental.com. That's kidscaredental.com, where healthy, happy smiles begin.
An Australian hiker travels to the American West to walk a wilderness trail.
Wasn't afraid to be out on his own.
But Eric Robinson vanished in the high Uinta Mountains.
I remember thinking, Eric, what were you thinking, mate?
I'm Dave Cawley, Join me on my podcast, Uinta Triangle, where I travel the world to answer the question, what happened to Eric Robinson? Follow Uinta Triangle. That's UINTA Triangle on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen.
Hagen Oaks wants to be your go-to total golf game fitter. Try the TrackMan experience, the very best technology to fit your metalwoods and irons. The new cutting-edge putter fitting studio with its $30,000 worth of technology is ready for your fitting. Hagen Oaks will help you find the best putter for your game. Hagen Oaks offers more technology, more choices, and more service. Schedule your fitting at the Hagen Oaks Player Performance Studio by calling 916-808-2531, 808-2531 for more.
KHD1 Sacramento, KYMX HD3 Sacramento. From the Power Business Technology Toshiba Studios.
Sacramento's official home of the 49ers.
San Francisco.
Sacktown Sports 1140. Your home for Kings talk and so much more.
Live and local.
Allen Stiles on Sacktown Sports.
Your last chance to get your guesses in on UPS Chris looks like he got it right again. He's at 4 in a row, 916-339-1140. Call line and text line. Your last chance, the hints were a long, young wing, drafted top 5, kind of squeezed out of the starting lineup. And the bonus that Kyle didn't want me to say, but I did say, his team made the playoffs. And that player is the one, the only, Jabari Smith Jr. A couple weeks ago, we had Chris Biederman on and discussed, hey, could DeMar DeRozan be a target for the Rockets if they don't get Giannis or they don't get Kevin Durant? They need a bucket getter. So on the other side of that, let's focus on who the Kings could, should, would want in return. And I think Jabari Smith Jr. could be one of those players. So he's got 1 year left on his contract before restricted free agency. They are going to have similar conversations than what the Kings are going to have with Keegan Murray. If we take a look at who Jabari Smith Jr. is right now as a basketball player, obviously he's young, he's athletic, he's only 22 years old. His cousin's with Kwame Brown, and that's something he probably shouldn't tell a lot of people, but cousins with Kwame Brown. I just found that out today here on Basketball Reference, and it's kind of weird that the Rockets would move on from him. And I think if you were to tell anyone, oh, well, you're going to lose Jabari Smith Jr. for DeMar DeRozan, whatever it is, I think a lot of people would say, well, that's crazy. But this is a good part, but also a bad part in kind of tanking and accumulating a lot of young talent, right? In 4 or 5 years, and we'll talk about who the Kings might do a deal for him with, might look terrible. But the Rockets have some tough decisions to make. And when you're a dude like Jabari Smith Jr., very similar, I would say, to a Kuminga in the sense, but I would say it's worse for Jabari Smith Jr. because he's with a bunch of peers. He's with a bunch of other young players. Kuminga could just wait for the team AARP to go into the retirement home if he wants to sign. By the way, there are reports that it might just be easier for him to go back to the Warriors and just wait it out, wait for them to retire, like a lot of us do in other people's jobs. But Jabari Smith Jr., everybody's his age, right? They're all under 26 years old. So that's a problem. He played 57 games. He had a decent amount of injuries this go round. He only played 57 games, 12.2 points per game, a smidge under his career at 13 points per game, 7 rebounds per game, a little bit under at 7.5 for his career, 1 assist per game, 43% from the field, which ties his career, 35.4% from 3. He's at 34 for his career, 82% from the free throw line. He's at 80 for his career. He goes 6'10". I'll see anywhere, Kyle. You know, we always veer on the highest we can see. I've seen anywhere from 6'10 to 6'11. So I'm going to say he's 6'11, okay? A real strong power forward, and just a weird situation. Even watching, I'm looking at his numbers from the Golden State series. I'm looking at his numbers here, and again, he had 12. He had 12 early on in a loss, but the minutes are just confusing, man. 26 minutes, 22 minutes, 15 minutes, 19 minutes, 12 minutes. It's if I'm Jabari Smith Jr., I got to get some run, man.
Well, this is also the weird thing that the Rockets have right now is, we made the joke all throughout the season of the Rockets look like a team playing without their star player.
Yeah.
The Rockets also have the issue of there's more young players that are about to get cycled in, right? They have the number 10 pick in this year's draft. Yeah. They still can't find space for Reed Sheppard, which honestly makes me think Reed Sheppard just might not be that good.
Well, let's bring him to Sacramento. Let's find out.
They have 2020. They can swap picks with Brooklyn in 2027, so that could potentially be another lottery pick. And they have Phoenix's first round pick in 2027. So their tough thing is, if we extend Jabari Smith Jr. at, it's basically him and Keegan are going to get basically the same contract, right? They were picked one pick apart from each other. We did the breakdown. Keegan's a slightly better offensive player. Jabari's a slightly better defensive player, but their numbers are basically the same. Their value is going to be basically the same $80 to $100 million contract range.
Real quick, I don't want to deviate too far, but if you're Keegan, wouldn't you say, why would I get paid as much as a bench player?
If I'm Jabari Smith Jr., why would I get paid the same as a guy who I'm a better defender than, but we do basically the same things?
I'm Keegan. I'm playing 40 minutes a game.
I'm Jabari Smith Jr., and all the numbers are saying I'm a slightly better defender than Keegan.
Why is he getting on the court then?
Because Dylan Brooks is a better defender than him, and they decided at the end of the season we'd rather play Dylan Brooks than Jabari Smith Jr.
Continue.
It's very interesting, though, for the Rockets, because they have to decide if we're talking about 20, 25 million for him, 30, 35 million for Jalen Green. They kind of have to, and Şengün's about to get the max extension. They can't extend all the young guys and then keep bringing in more young players, only because then there's going to be a logjam for playing time, and then they're paying Jabari Smith Jr. $25 million to either not be a starter or potentially to start but then push out a Reed Sheppard or a number 10 pick in the draft. They kind of just have to ask themselves what it's going to take for them to get to the next step, right? Because they know Amen Thompson's a hit. They know Şengün is a hit. Jalen Green appears to be a good number 3, but what is it going to take for them to get to the next step? And that's honestly, there's no easy answers to it. It's just possible that they conclude $25 million a year for Jabari Smith Jr. is not that step.
I don't think it is. And they're a team that when you look at them, Fred VanVleet's your point guard. I don't think you need, and that's why we thought that they'd be, and not that they're not, but the Kevin Durant conversation, because I don't think you have your point guard. Say what you want about Jalen Green. They're saying that they're going to move forward with Jalen Green. That's why they're out of the Devin Booker sweepstakes. Not that that actually exists, but we thought that was going to be a good match. Obviously, they're not going to be in on a Trae Young. With Zion's, the allegations, I don't even know. Zion's kind of out of the conversation for now because we just don't know what's happening there. As far as what I think they need, again, they need Kevin Durant, right? I don't think every team is a Kevin Durant away. I think, everyone's saying Minnesota's a Kevin Durant away. I think the Rockets are close to a Kevin Durant away.
I know some people are saying the Knicks.
The Knicks are, yes. Now the Knicks are a Kevin Durant away, but there's only one Kevin Durant. So if you don't get Kevin Durant, I'm looking at the Rockets saying, okay, well, how can they get there if it's not Kevin Durant based on who we understand to be somewhat movable? And Zach LaVine is so tough and they're not going to want to pay that price. That's why I go to DeRozan. I think the whole issue with DeRozan comes back to spacing. And if Fred VanVleet actually plays worth his contract, then I think the spacing isn't terrible. But with Şengün, who has a better shot than Sabonis, I would say slightly. It was more natural, but he's not a stretch five by any stretch of the imagination. With Şengün, with Jalen Green, who can be cold from three, I want to send DeMar DeRozan. I just feel like if I'm the Rockets, they might say, look, Amen Thompson don't even shoot threes. We just our spacing with Dylan Brooks, and he might even be gone in the deal. We're going to find out in about a minute here. I want to send DeMar DeRozan, but realistically, I think it would be more so, well, what else are you going to do, Houston?
Well, here, I'll make it as simple as I can from the Houston standpoint, which is in not this summer, but the summer after, between Dylan Brooks, Jabari Smith Jr., and Tari Eason, only one of those dudes is probably still going to be on the team.
Right.
Next year, they can afford to keep them all because Eason and Brooks are still, or Eason and Smith are still on the rookie contract. After that, you can't really pay $50 million to the three of them while also having Jalen Green on his extension and Şengün on the max and everything else they're going to try and put together. It also just doesn't make sense, right? Why would you keep Tari Eason at $15 million or $20 million a year if he's only going to play 8 minutes in the playoffs? Right. You'd rather have a young person with a higher ceiling. You'd rather have whoever the number 10 pick is in the draft this year be Tari Eason than give Tari Eason another contract if you're going to only play them 7 minutes. So they kind of have to ask themselves, maybe not now, but before next summer, which of the three or any of them are we going to prioritize as our starting four going forward? Assuming Thompson's locked in, Jalen Green's locked in, Şengün is locked in at center. Which one do we want to prioritize as our starter going forward? Is it Jabari? Is it Dylan Brooks? Is it Tari Eason? Or is it somebody who's not even on the team right now, like a Kevin Durant? I don't know if there's a good answer to that question, and maybe they come to the conclusion Jabari has the highest ceiling, but this year they decided we'd rather play Dylan Brooks in the starting lineup than Jabari Smith Jr.
How the Kings can acquire Jabari Smith Jr. We have some trades cooked up for you when we return. Back in a minute. Don't move. Allen Stiles, Stockton Sports.
If you're 55 and up, T-Mobile has plans built just for you. 2 lines of unlimited for just $30 a line. That's a 45% savings compared to Verizon and AT&T. But don't just take our word for it.
It's not just the savings that are great with our T-Mobile plan. There's all this value from all these other things that T-Mobile offers.
T-Mobile has been such a savings for us.
We love it. Switch today and get 2 free 5G phones like the Motorola Edge with turbo power charging that gives you power for the day in just 15 minutes. And customers 55 and up can get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for only $30 a line. Go to T-Mobile.com/55 to learn more. With 24 monthly bill credits and 2 new lines with autopay for well-qualified customers, plus taxes, fees, and $35 per line connection charge. Credits end and balance due if you pay off early or cancel. Contact us, plus $5 per line without autopay. Debit or bank account required. 45% off 2 lines versus AT&T Starter and Verizon Welcome. Plan benefits vary. See details at T-Mobile.com. Motorola Edge requires 68-watt charger. Chargers sold separately. Actual performance will vary based on usage and configuration.
Allen Stiles. Watch the show on youtube.com/Sacktown Sports 1140.
Or listen on the Sacktown Sports app.
Chicken Greasy on the Sack Chat is saying, I think they're posturing with Jalen Green. I do too. Talking about the Houston Rockets as we have some trades mocked up for you. Jabari Smith Jr. is our trade candidate, our trade target of the day. But yeah, I don't buy the Jalen Green thing for a second. Maybe they're just saying we're not going to give up the farm for Devin Booker, but I don't buy we're going to move forward with Jalen Green thing. I don't buy it.
I disagree, not completely, but with the principle that they're making, because from at the start of the year, we did our game previews and we talked about like Houston had no offensive identity at the beginning of the season. It was like they had 5 guys scoring 16 points a game and no star. From like January 1st onward, Jalen Green was averaging like 24.5 points a game. I don't know if Jalen Green will ever be a true number one scoring threat in the NBA, but towards the back half of last season, when they jumped to the 2 seed, he was starting to make that leap that a 22-year-old does to get to that all-star territory. I think he just lost a lot of that good grace by playing terrible in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, that's all that matters, right? I mean, could you say, and we're going to get to these trades now, but could you say that being a playoff dropper is the worst / toughest stigma to drop, no pun intended, because now that's him, right? So James Harden, playoff, probably, did he start, at least for our generation, the playoff dropper conversations?
It's not only that it was a playoff dropper, it's that at a certain point, we all knew that he knew. And if you go back, I was listening to Bomani Jones do the breakdown, and it's like at a certain point, Harden just stopped trying. Yeah. Like his shots per game went down like 70% in game sevens, beginning like I think it was the Brooklyn year. Mm-hmm. But anyways, at some point he just stopped trying in game sevens because he knew he couldn't perform, and there was some mental block there.
Right. It becomes a version of the yips, honestly. So. James Harden, people want to throw Sabonis in there. I just don't think he has a large enough body of work. I said this yesterday. You can make the argument that the play, and he had a double-double against the Pelicans, so that just goes to the empty calories narrative. But he had a double-double against the Pelicans. They lost. There was no Zion. That was a bad look. Then he was not good at all against the Mavs this season in the play-in. So I honestly feel like those two things have hurt just as much as the one series that we saw Domantas Sabonis in. And I know, people will say, well, he actually wasn't that bad. But that's the thing. It's not about it's not playoff stinker. It's playoff dropper. You are not as good as you were in the regular season as you are in the postseason. That you just drop. So just sidebar, we need to get to these trades. Let's start with the first one. Kyle, what you got?
All right, so we got 3 possible trades on the table for Jabari Smith Jr. The first one, I'm just going to throw it out there because it would be the easiest one to do. Just Jabari Smith for Keegan straight up. Just you take our guy, we'll take yours, and see if we can make it work.
I mean,
because Keegan shoots threes.
Well, that's a great point.
Jabari Smith Jr., everyone says, has a higher ceiling.
I think there's a conversation, but if you're the Kings, now we're stuck with one wing again. Oh, we stay. Oh no! Oh no! We stink again. Oh no! We have one wing again.
But at least he's a true power forward versus Keegan probably should be playing small forward.
Yeah.
It's just hey, you take our guy, we'll take your guy, and we're gonna figure it out that way, which I don't think would happen. I'm just saying that's the easiest one to execute.
I'm going to play things safe here and not say who says no, but somebody is saying no.
Could go either way. Again, they're basically the same value player. Like I said, Keegan's a little bit better offensively because he shoots threes and has made 12 threes in a game. Jabari Smith Jr., all the metrics will tell you, is a slightly better defensive player than Keegan Murray.
All right, what's the second one?
All right, the second one is the aforementioned DeMar DeRozan deal you were talking about before. Chris Biederman was on our show a couple weeks ago, or was that last week? Either way, he was on the show talking about DeMar DeRozan and the Rockets. So that deal would... First of all, it would only work if the Rockets decline Fred VanVleet's team option, which they probably will.
Yeah.
But just caveat that. They have to decline the team option first. Then it would be DeMar DeRozan and pick number 42 for the Kings, obviously, going to Houston for Jabari Smith Jr. and Aaron Holiday, making basically the veteran minimum for 1 year.
Point guard.
He is a point guard.
I think that the Rockets would probably want a little bit more.
What is a little bit more? You want to make that a first rounder?
Probably.
Lottery protected?
Yeah.
Okay.
So now we're back. Are we back in the Kevin Huerter?
Yeah, we're back. Unless, well, the other thing we could do, and this will come up with the last trade, but we could also just send them the San Antonio pick and just say, hey, You can, if the Spurs are excellent, you get an extra first-round pick in 2027.
Yeah, it depends. We're saying all of this assuming that Kevin Durant has gone somewhere else and that Giannis, neither of these guys are on the Rockets, obviously.
Yeah, we're saying that all the dominoes have fallen before free agency, and Houston has just decided we're not going to give Jabari Smith Jr. Because that's the other thing. This would probably have to come with an extension for the Kings. They're probably paying both Jabari Smith and Keegan $80 to $100 million over the life of their contracts.
I mean, obviously, if you're the Kings, you do it. And I think that's the problem with this trade. Normal trades or trades that typically work are trades that both sides kind of, that one's hurting me a little bit, right? And fans are at least somewhat torn. And I get it. It's a different situation because of DeMar DeRozan, but no fan would be torn on this if you're the Kings. I think that Rockets fans would say, man, losing Jabari Smith Jr., this is what we talked about in the last segment, losing Jabari Smith Jr. for DeMar DeRozan and a second rounder, that doesn't feel right, but they have a decision to make on Jabari in general. They might just say, hey, Jabari, we're going to move Tari and you'll get more time.
Right, and this is why we've talked before. The DeMar DeRozan to the Rockets trade is very simple. It's the Kings getting back Dillon Brooks. Mm-hmm. The Rockets would say, we're not going to give you Jabari. We'd rather just give you Dillon Brooks instead, because then you can put DeRozan at the 3, Amon at the 4, Jabari can keep coming off the bench, versus this situation where it's DeRozan at the 3, Thompson at the 4. Now you have to move Dillon Brooks to the bench. And at that point, honestly, if you're paying $20 million a year for a sixth man, you'd rather keep the young guy than have Dillon Brooks be your bench guy. But again, that's where, you throw in a second round pick, you throw in a protected first if we want to go that direction to kind of balance it out. If you're the Kings, you're making the investment in getting younger versus just swapping out DeMar DeRozan for Dillon Brooks at the 3.
What's the last one?
All right, the last one is similar, but we're sending out Malik instead. So that's just Jabari Smith Jr. for Malik Monk and a lottery-protected first-round pick. Probably the San Antonio one.
They're going to want more.
You want pick 42?
Yeah.
Jabari Smith Jr. is probably not worth 2 first-round picks right now, or at least two premium first-round picks.
I just don't think that the Rockets would feel like Malik Monk is enough to take them over the top. I at least DeMar DeRozan, the closing aspect of DeMar DeRozan, and again, Malik is coming off a pretty bad 3-point shooting year anyway. I'd rather do trade number 2 if I'm the Rockets.
So how much draft capital would I have to put in to make the Rockets say, I'll take Malik Monk and do a draft pick heavy, not even a draft pick heavy trade, just we're going to take draft capital down the road that we can then use to trade for another star?
I think it starts at Malik Monk, that first rounder, and 42. I think it might end at Malik Monk, that 2027 first rounder, and maybe even a pick swap down the line, something like that.
Okay.
I just don't. When I look at the Rockets, nobody is going to be more scared of the Rockets because they have Malik. I think they'd be more scared of the Rockets because they have DeMar.
Maybe this is a difference in opinions of how good Jabari Smith Jr. is at this point right now.
Yeah.
Because we've talked about this with Keegan, right? If you're making a $25 million a year investment, you're projecting that this person will one day become your number 3. Mm-hmm. Again, in an offense with Domantas Sabonis. If you're trading for Jabari Smith Jr., you're probably making the bet that one of those two will become a star, and then you're ultimately overpaying for the other one. Unless both of them are going to become your Denny Advia and Tamani Kamara, and they're both excellent defenders who can both score, I think you're kind of making the bet that one of the two will be part of your long-term plan and the other one will be overpaid until you can make an upgrade.
Bleacher Report has what every team must fix during the 2025 offseason. You'll never believe, or maybe you will, what they say about the Sacramento Kings. Allen Stiles, Sacktown Sports.
Here at the Almond Joy Factory, where tropical vibes abound, we use soft, fresh-tasting coconut.
The crunchiest almonds and delicious chocolate candy.
Ah, but do you know what our most important ingredient is? Sometimes you feel like a nut.
Sometimes you don't.
Almond Joy's got nuts and something even way better than that. Yes, Almond Joy is made with almonds and joy.
This message comes from Viking, committed to exploring the world in comfort. Journey through the heart of Europe on an elegant Viking longship with thoughtful service, destination-focused dining, and cultural enrichment on board and on shore. With small ships that bring travelers closer to the destination, there's more time to explore. And every Viking voyage is all-inclusive, with no children and no casinos. Discover more at Viking.com.
Sacramento Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has the biggest selection, the best prices, and unbeatable customer service. Check them out online, SacSuperstore.com, for the guaranteed lowest price on Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. Open until 10 o'clock and right across from Hagen Oaks Golf Course. SacSuperstore.com.
Come check out Capital Casino, Sacramento's #1 poker room with the most variety of table games in the region in a safe and friendly environment. Plenty of well-lit parking available, conveniently located in downtown Sacramento. And remember, Capital Casino has the best food, the best service, and the best action. 411 North 16th Street in downtown Sacramento. For more information, log on to capital-casino.com, and please gamble responsibly. 1-800-GAMBLER.
Switch to Comcast Business Mobile and save hundreds a year on your wireless bill. Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
Restrictions apply. Comcast Business Internet required. Compares 2 unlimited intro lines and lowest price 5G plans of top 3 carriers. Taxes and fees extra. Reduced speed after 30 gigabytes of usage. Data thresholds may vary.
Bonneville International Radio Station contests are open to participants at least 18 years of age and older that are residents of California and who reside in one of the 6 counties that make up the Sacramento metro area, unless otherwise specified. Employees or agents of the station, Bonneville International Corporation, other area radio stations, or any entity associated with the contest are not eligible to win, unless the station otherwise specifies in its own discretion. Persons who have won in the last 30 days from a station contest or event may not be eligible. For a copy of the general contest rules, visit khdk.com.
Hi, I'm Allen Stiles. Injured at work? Call Downtown. Downtown LA Law Group, California's leading injury law firm. With over 40 lawyers throughout California, they've won over $500 million in settlements. Downtown LA Law Group will get you compensation for your work injury. You don't pay unless they win. That's right. You pay zero up front. Call Downtown. Text Injury Help to 40222. That's Injury Help to 40222. Visit them at calldowntown.com.
Hi, Sacramento. It's the No Surprise guys at Bell Brothers Plumbing and Air Conditioning. Need a new water heater? Call Bell Brothers. Need drain or sewer work? Call Bell Brothers. Need a free plumbing estimate? Call Bell Brothers. We don't guess at plumbing and drain problems. We use advanced camera inspections and diagnostics to identify the issues. We're fast, reliable, and respect your time by showing up when we say we will. Our technicians are all background checked, drug tested, and will leave the work area cleaner than they found it. The price we quote is the price you pay. We are the No Surprise guys. With more technicians, more trucks, and more experience. We get the job done right the first time. No surprises. Don't wait. Call Bell Brothers today for a free plumbing estimate or book online at nosurpriseguys.com. That's nosurpriseguys.com.
Hello, Sacramento. I'm Emron Pilati, owner of True Sports Cards and Collectible Store here in Rockland, California, and the host of the True Sports Cards Show that airs right here on Sacktown Sports 1140 every Saturday from 10 to 11 a.m., where we discuss the latest trends, hottest products, and deliver exclusive interviews with other industry leaders. And don't forget to visit our shop, True Sports Cards, at 6661 Stanford Ranch Road in Rockland, and see what we have for all your sports card and memorabilia needs.
Live and local.
It's Allen Stiles
on Sacktown Sports.
taking you up to 2 p.m. And we will be joined, by the way, at 1 o'clock. We will be joined by Yasi Goolin, who has joined us before. He's an NBA salary cap analyst for the thirdapron.com. And Yasi will join us at 1 to break down where the Kings are at, different trades, what he thinks the Kings should do, and how good or bad of a position they are in. But right now, we hear from Bleacher Report. So Zach Buckley, friend of the show, he has this article that says what every team must fix during the 2025 offseason. And here's his write-up for the Kings. Obviously, he has it for every team. And this is his write-up for the Kings specifically. For reasons known perhaps only to them, the Kings placed a healthy wager on Domantas Sabonis, DeMar DeRozan, and Zach LaVine, forming a high-level competitor in the fully loaded Western Conference. To the surprise of no one else, that wager went bust. Sacramento posted a losing record and a middling net rating, then dropped its only play-in game by double digits to a Mavericks team missing Kyrie Irving. The Kings, who've managed to unravel the momentum they generated during their beam lighting breakout in 2023, might already need a substantial shift towards something else. While there's no telling if Sacramento's ownership could stomach a full reset, there are rumblings that the Kings will at least gauge the trade market on DeRozan, per Jake Fisher of the Stein Line. Dealing DeRozan and having an otherwise quiet offseason would solve nothing. More significant changes are needed, either to beef up the roster around Sabonis right now or stockpile assets for the post-Sabonis era. Win-now intentions without win-now talent cannot be the guiding principle any longer. That last line is an absolute bar. Win-now intentions without win-now talent cannot be the guiding principle any longer. At least he says in the write-up, and it's so funny, right? The other teams that come out, and Zach had some things to write about, other teams that he kind of broke down would be, I think for the Spurs, it was three-point shooting. They just need three-point shooting. For the Kings, it was building a bigger window. That's what Zach Buckley is essentially saying, that the Kings need to create a bigger window. And that is pretty much the issue for the Kings, and how they do that without moving Sabonis is difficult, right? I should say this, without moving Sabonis or Zach LaVine is difficult. For example, some of the other ones, Atlanta Hawks, he had finding a lane. For the Kings, it just says a bigger window. The Spurs, it says shooting shortage. Raptors, it says a building block big. So everyone has different kind of settings and different kind of expectations. Utah Jazz growing the talent base. So other names, let's just see what he has for the Suns, because I'm just curious what the Suns could possibly
pick
have.
a direction.
Yeah, he kind of gave them an out. Clarity with Kevin Durant. That's too easy. Come on, Zach.
I mean,
we know he's leaving. What's the clarity?
You know what they're going to get back. Are we getting a rebuild? Are we getting another star? What are we doing here?
That's too easy. That's too easy for the Suns.
We building around Grayson Allen here? What are we doing?
Yeah, so a bigger window. That's what Zach Buckley writes of Bleacher Report for the Kings. And he does say, look, you don't have to move Sabonis, but you have to get better talent around him, which that then require, I would say, now we're having Keegan Murray conversations. And maybe that's what's been staring us in the face the whole time. If you're going to hold on to Domantas Sabonis, then other tough decisions are going to be made. There's not really a world, and that's how we ended it, which is what I love. Win now intentions without win now talent cannot be the guiding principle any longer. If you look at it like that, what Zach is saying, and you not even read between the lines, just read the actual lines, is Keegan Murray good enough win-now talent if you're not moving Domantas Sabonis and Zach LaVine, or you can't move Domantas Sabonis and Zach LaVine? DeMar DeRozan, we already know he's probably gone, so I'm not even counting him. Is Keon Ellis good enough win-now talent? Where does that line start and go? Now, if it all comes down to, and Zach kind of addresses, if you just move, he doesn't think that you're going to get enough back for DeMar, right, in order to do anything. Let's do the Jabari, and that's why the Jabari Smith Jr. deal is interesting. Let's do the Jabari Smith Jr. deal. Now you have Jabari Smith Jr., but that's not win now to me. That's Domantas Sabonis kind of hanging around as we hope Keegan and Jabari Smith form a ridiculous tandem. And I don't know. You got to get a point guard from somewhere. I don't know where, a young point guard at that point. So John Collins, any of these deals that we've done, sure, Zach is saying that this is a waste of time, which is what we've all kind of said.
But is that a waste of time because Zach LaVine is not a number one?
Yes.
So then that's your underlying problem is
But he ain't going nowhere.
Right, but they've locked themselves into that now. So that's the tough part is like, do you double down on that vision of Sabonis and LaVine and a number 3, or do you just say, we screwed up, time to just go to the bottom, and we're not even going to have as many picks as all these other teams, but we're still going to go to the bottom.
But and that's why I brought up Keegan, because it's starting to feel like the only way to survive this, if you don't want to blow it up, right? The only way to survive this and actually have an opportunity to do some things would be to look at your more desirable talent. Just moving DeMar DeRozan, which is what they'll probably do, a lot of people don't think that that's going to be enough.
Right, but that you would have to do that for a win now number 1 scoring option.
Yes.
Which we've talked about those possibilities before.
I feel like we have tried to avoid, and maybe I'm just talking about myself, tried to avoid moving Keegan Murray, maybe subconsciously. And something like this, when I read it and it says win now, and again, this is the Western Conference. If it is either Eastern Conference, it's a completely different conversation. But in the West, and I've never really thought of Keegan Murray as untouchable, but if you have to do a deal, and obviously I would give you a name and not just say Keegan's got to go. It's got to be a name that's worth it. But if it's a name that we think it's worth it, then you got to have that conversation, which I think they might already be doing. But my point is, and this is how I felt, what was it, last week or maybe 2 weeks ago, it's a waste of time. The Jabari Smith thing isn't a waste of time to me because he's 22 years old. But having a conversation about John Collins is largely a waste of time to me.
Well, I think that's why it's an ends to the means thing, right? Because we've done trades, like we talked about Julius Randle last week. You'd probably have to trade Keegan Murray for Julius Randle, but that makes more sense if you're bringing in a wing. Like if you're trading Keegan for a player that has a higher ceiling than Keegan you believe is ever going to be.
Or is just better. Yes, it's better now. You're willing to take a bet on Julius Randle because you don't know that Keegan Murray will ever be as good as Julius Randle.
Exactly. But it also doesn't make sense to trade Keegan Murray as part of a Trae Young package because then you've swapped one problem for another. It's like, okay, you have Trae Young, Zach LaVine, and Domantas Sabonis, and not a single wing.
Right.
And no path to acquire one. So it's why the best path for the Kings to improve is with draft capital. But there's not a lot of teams that want just purely draft capital right now. Maybe you could say Charlotte, maybe you could say Atlanta based on their direction. But for a lot of these players, they want young players already in the NBA or we're trading a proven commodity for a proven commodity, like a DeMar DeRozan. That's the tough part that the Kings are in and why they probably don't have the best trade package for a star. Like, we can talk about trading for Trae Young all we want, but unless the Hawks don't want draft picks, they're not going to beat Cleveland offering Darius Garland for Trae Young. They just can't beat that offer because they are stuck with Zach LaVine.
When we return, the Stockton Kings lose their coach again, and I have inside information. I ran into someone yesterday at the River Cats game, very much connected to Stockton, with some notes on where they're headed in their coaching search. Allen Stiles, Sacramento Sports.
Everyone has a fave Wendy's Frosty flavor. And when you're choosing from chocolate or vanilla, it's not that hard. But now, there's all new Frosty Swirls and Frosty Fusions. So try picking your fave from Oreo Brownie Fusion, Pop-Tarts Strawberry Fusion, Strawberry Swirl, Brownie Batter Swirl, Caramel Swirl, and Caramel Crunch Fusion. Not so easy now, huh? For a fresh way to Frosty, gotta be Wendy's. Open till midnight or later.
Participating U.S. Wendy's. Hours may vary by location. Oreo is a trademark of Mondelez International Group. Pop-Tarts is a trademark of Kellogg North America Co. LLC. Used with permission.
Not available in all states. Rates vary. Building a financial safety net for your family can be tough, but with term life insurance through Ethos, you can have peace of mind that they can pay the mortgage and other bills if something happens to you. With coverage in as little as 10 minutes, all online, Ethos finds your best rate across our multiple trusted carriers. Some policies as low as $1 a day billed monthly. And even in uncertain times, your term life insurance rates and payout don't change. Get a free quote at ethos.com/win. That's ethos.com/win.
With 25 award-winning years in Northern California, Ashton & Price is your local injury law firm. Pro attorney tip: if a firm presents it's local, but they're in LA, red flag. If your first consultation is not with a lawyer, big red flag. At Ashton & Price, your first consult is with a local attorney, and if serious injury prevents travel, a lawyer will come to you. Still not enough? George Washington's my uncle. At Ashton & Price, no red flags, just red, white, and blue.
Remember, for the best advice, don't think twice. Call Ashton and Price.
The Giant Summer Sale is here. Get giant savings on our giant selection only at Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop.
Looking to own or lease? Save during the Giant Summer Sale and drive a brand new Accord or Civic. Visit us today at FolsomLakeHonda.com, your one-stop Honda shop.
As a family-owned and operated dealership since 2009, customer service is our #1 priority. Our customers love doing business with us, and you will too.
Folsom Lake Honda. Go to FolsomLakeHonda.com.
Your one-stop Honda shop.
Summer's almost here, and so are popsicles, pool days, and a lot of smiling. Make sure your kiddo's smile is ready with a visit to Kids Care Dental and Orthodontics. Our expert team makes dental visits easy and fun with sensory-friendly hours for kids who need a calmer environment. We can also accommodate same-day treatments, and to save you time, if your child needs multiple treatments, we can often do them all at once. Appointments fill up fast, so don't wait. Beat the summer rush and schedule online at kidscaredental.com. That's kidscaredental.com, where healthy, happy smiles begin.
At Valley Strong Credit Union, we know that local businesses are the backbone of the Central Valley, investing in our neighborhoods, boosting the economy, making the Valley stronger. But when it comes to their finances, where can they turn? A big bank that just sees another number? That's not good enough. Valley businesses deserve Valley support for payroll, credit, cash flow, and everything in between. Valley Business is Valley Strong. Learn how our cash management services can support your business at valleystrong.com.
Your home for Kings Talk and so much more.
Live and local.
Allen Stiles on Sacktown Sports.
What the Kings need to do to get back in the Western Conference conversation. Well, there was one champion out here in the 916-209. What else we got out here? 916-209.
530.
530. There was a champion, the Stockton Kings. And the Stockton Kings have had some issues holding on to their coaches due to the success that they've had. And that's not going to change. Over the weekend, Quentin Crawford, head coach who guided the Stockton Kings to the G League championship, has agreed to join the Portland Trailblazers as an assistant coach under Chauncey Billups. So the search is on again. That was from Chris Haynes over the weekend. And good for Quentin Crawford. You got to get in where you fit in. We understand that the G League is a developmental league, not just for players, but also for coaches, and to get some experience under your belt You know, you had Lindsey Harding and Bobby Jackson, and now Quentin Crawford joining that crew that have used the Stockton Kings to catapult their careers. So good for Quentin Crawford. What happened, Kyle, is I actually ran into someone, and we were just small talking while I was doing the River Cats yesterday. And he told me his name. He told me, oh, I live, XYZ. And based on where he told me he lived, it sounded like he was somebody who either moved a lot or, is doing fairly well for himself. So he led by saying, oh, I'm not from out here. I'm from XYZ. And when I asked him, I kind of go down the cookie trail, if you will. And he told me he was an assistant coach for the Stockton Kings. And obviously he's going to remain nameless because I just think that's safer. But he was assistant coach for the Stockton Kings. And everything happened so fast. He told me, yeah, we won. I said, hey, can I get a ring? He said, we haven't even got our rings yet for winning the G League championship. And he said, yeah, man, it's just kind of the grind. I've been with multiple teams. I've been with the NBA, then I've been with the G League as well. And he says, I have no clue what's about to happen, but it's probably not good for me. It's essentially probably going to end in me not living where I currently live, because I'm probably going to have to move, because very similar to what they do with the big league crew. Now that Quentin Crawford is gone, they'll probably bring in at least a good bit of new coaches.
I would guess so. And it's hard to kind of map those things together because, like, when an assistant coach of a G League team gets a promotion, it's often to be a deep bench guy on an NBA club or to potentially move up the bench on a G League team. I know Chris Darnell, who the Kings hired last week from Cleveland, it was like he was an associate head coach on the G League team, and then he took over the head coaching position of the G League team, and now we move up to an NBA bench. For Coach Q, who's now going to Portland, it's one of those situations.
1 year.
1 year at the job, you're saying?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, they've had 3 different head coaches the last 3 years all leave to go. I mean, the last 3 years, the Stockton Kings, if I remember correctly, they made it to the conference finals, then made it to the conference finals again, and then won the championship this year. Maybe they were in the finals last year, but in those 3 years, they've had 3 separate head coaches all leave to take other jobs. Bobby Jackson leaves to go to Philadelphia. Lindsey Harding leaves to go to the Los Angeles Lakers with JJ Redick, which, by the way, both of them were at Duke, I think, around the same time. And now Coach Q goes to Portland. None of them front of bench, like lead assistant type jobs, but promotions from where they were in the head coach of a very good G League team, at least based on perception.
It's such a grind because I'm looking here. He's with the Lakers he was with the Hornets first, right? That's where it all started, 2019. Then from 2019 to 2022, assistant with the Lakers. Then from there, so he's in Charlotte for a year, Lakers for 3 years. Then he's in Dallas for a year, assistant. Phoenix for a year, assistant. Stockton for a year, assistant or head coach with the G League team. Now he's headed to Portland. And just a sidebar, it's just such a grind, man. I mean, I know once you get to the promised land, it's one of the best jobs to have, but it is a grind. And I don't know anything about Coach Q, says he's 34 years old. I don't know if he has a family, anything like that, but what do you eat? How do you do that? How do you do that? If you have a family, where do they stay?
I mean, I'm looking at his resume. It's like video coordinator for the Kings, video coordinator for the Hornets. He went to go with Frank Vogel with the Magic and then ends up with Frank Vogel on the Lakers and then leaves the Lakers when Jason Kidd gets the Mavericks job and then goes back to Frank Vogel and then Frank Vogel gets fired. And it's just like, it can be really tumultuous for people who we all think about the people who like Darvin Ham. He linked up with Budenholzer at different stops, and Budenholzer kind of elevates his career until he gets the Laker job, right? It's not always that linear for people trying to get some of these jobs, which good for Coach Q that it seems like this is a big step up to go to Portland, like not a ton of connections to Chauncey, a desirable coach getting a front of bench position, but it seems like it is a winding road for these assistant coaches, to your point.
Yeah, and I'm looking at how, it ends for some, like some get over the hump, some don't. We don't know where he's going to be on the bench for the Blazers, but I do wonder just with like a Leandro Barbosa. Do we think that Leandro Barbosa at this point in time is high enough or will be close enough on the bench that it wouldn't make sense to take this Stockton job? I don't know what the path is.
That's what's so interesting about it too, is it's like they hired Bobby Jackson, who was obviously an early assistant with the team. Then Lindsay, who was a Mike Brown hire, but goes to the bench. And then Coach Q, who had been a video coordinator here for a second, but is an outside of the organization hire who was out of a job because Phoenix fired that entire coaching staff. So it is really interesting how you make these hires. And for the Stockton Kings, I think it's a testament to how well run that team is, that despite the constant turnover of coaches, they've still been able to play high level basketball pretty much the entire time.
Yeah.
But to your point, I don't know where they go next with the next coach.
So the Stockton Kings, once again, and obviously we're paying attention to the Stockton Kings more than anyone else. It's probably not, I'm not saying that it's unique to the Kings, right? I mean, it's the G League. You're not necessarily, it's almost like junior college. You're not supposed to be there forever, right? But it does feel like, man, the Kings or the Stockton Kings are looking for another coach again, which I guess could be a good thing as far as, hey, them building and at least building something that other teams want to be a part of, right? And the relationships that might come back around. You never know, right? You look at Bobby Jackson. Obviously, Bobby Jackson had the connection to the Kings from his time playing, being that ultimate sixth man. But look at Bobby Jackson. He's the head coach for Stockton, kind of spreads his wings with the Sixers, and then comes on back home to help be an assistant coach with the big team. So good luck to Quentin. You brought the only championship this area has seen in a very, very long time. And, good luck to that coach that I ran into as well. Looks like, based on now what I'm gathering, is he was probably with Quentin in Phoenix based on what he was telling me yesterday. So going to be really interesting. And I'm sure he's already – so how does that happen, right? Is it similar to the Kings was confusing because obviously they go in the interim direction, so everyone didn't get canned at the end of the season. But if you're him, the assistant coach, are you got to be proactively making calls. Based on what he told me, he's calling people right now saying, hey, Q's out, he's dipping.
Or his agent.
Yeah. What do we got?
Yeah, I don't know where you go at those like low levels of like you're an NBA assistant coach, but you're at the lowest levels of the rung. I don't know how that process works.
I don't even know. Does he have an agent? I don't want anybody to take my percentage. I'm not getting paid that much.
I think you probably gotta. If some of these TV people have agents, I'm pretty sure these lower level assistants, especially with all the job turnover, you gotta have someone who has these connections.
Yeah, I heard Kyle Ledbetter got an agent. So I mean, everybody got agents. We get it.
My agent's not doing a good job if they are.
As we hit noon, it is time for some NFL, and we're going to start here. You'll never guess which wide receiver the Niners might go after. Allen Stiles, Sactown Sports.
Hey, it's Carmichael Dave here for American Energy, and oh my goodness, I'm born and raised here. I know it gets hot, but my goodness, we're already seeing 100-degree days. Listen to me. You do not want your system to conk out in the middle of June or July or August with one of those big 100-degree stretches. You want to make sure you're good all summer long. And my friends at American Energy Heating and Air can do that with a $24.50 tune-up right now. That's half price. And if you need a new system, $3,500 off, up to $3,500 off in rebates for qualified systems. They've been around since 1981, serving the greater Sacramento area. A+ with the Better Business Bureau. Call them right now, 916-520-9990. That's 916-520-9990. Jingle Singers, take it away.
Call 916-520-9990 now.
Why'd I go to the doctor? One day at the firehouse, I was so lightheaded I could barely stand. Even my crew noticed. Getting checked out was the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit NoTimeToWait.com, sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
I want to learn how to cook, but I keep ordering takeout.
Accomplishing goals is hard, but when your goal is to learn a new language, Babbel makes it easy. In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel will help you start having conversations in as little as 3 weeks. Words and phrases you'll actually use. So when someone asks,
"How's your French going?"
you can say,
Babbel facilite grandement l'apprentissage d'une nouvelle langue.
now save up to 50% on your Babbel subscription at Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com.
An Australian hiker travels to the American West to walk a wilderness trail.
Wasn't afraid to be out on his own.
But Eric Robinson vanished in the high Uinta Mountains.
I remember thinking, Eric, what were you thinking, mate?
I'm Dave Cawley. Join me on my podcast, Uinta Triangle, where I travel the world to answer the question, what happened to Eric Robinson? Follow Uinta Triangle. That's UINTA Triangle on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen.
Your local sports leader in the 916.
KHTK HD1 Sacramento. KYMX HD3 Sacramento.
From the Power Business Technology Toshiba Studios. Sacktown Sports 1140. Live and local
It's Allen Stiles.
on Sacktown Sports.
Still to come, does anybody have worse PR in the league than Karl Anthony Towns? And could the Kings take advantage of Karl Anthony Towns' terrible PR as somehow the Knicks losing is his fault? They get further than they've gotten in a very long time. And Karl Anthony Towns was on the MVP ladder for a large part of the season. And the season ends, and the first thing Kevin O'Connor and others have to say is, you got to move Cat, who they just got, by the way. So that is coming up in the 12 o'clock hour. And we will, like I said, have Yasi Goolin on at 1 o'clock to talk NBA salary. But right now at noon, we are hitting some NFL. And this caught my eye because when it comes to the Niners and wide receivers, there's always some type of drama. And Mike Florio believes that the 49ers should look into trading for, you guessed it, or you probably didn't, Tyreek Hill. He says, here's the quote, "For now, Hill has $28.2 million in unallocated bonus money that will hit the cap. A pre-June 1st trade means all of it lands in 2025. A post-June 1st trade limits the 2025 dead money to $12.7 million, with the remaining $15.5 million landing on the cap in 2026. The only question is whether there's another team that would be interested in taking on Hill's $25.8 million compensation package for 2025 and in giving the Dolphins whatever it would take to get them to clear out a key player who may not truly believe he's playing for a contender. The contenders that should at least ponder whether Hill can help get them over the top include the Ravens, the Texans, the Chargers, and the 49ers. Those are all great shouts, by the way. If I read those out loud like I just did, it feels like the Chargers and the Texans would need Tyreek Hill before the Ravens and the I'm done giving the Ravens wide receivers. I don't know what to do. You already have Zay Flowers. I do think those type of receivers are perfect for Lamar because he extends plays. So it would Zay Flowers and Tyreek would be incredible. Just the best Zont wide receiver tandem in the history of the league.
What do you mean you're done giving the Ravens receivers? I thought
every year we give them a new receiver.
Well, yeah, but they're never any good.
Every year we try to give them a new receiver.
But we give them Sammy Watkins. It's not like we're giving them
No. They went out, they got Zay Flowers, right? Then
they drafted him.
Yes, they drafted him.
They also drafted Rashad Bateman.
They drafted Rashad Bateman.
That was a first-round pick.
Right, and I know there it wasn't Sammy Watkins, but there was some OG on the team. I'm looking here.
It was Odell Beckham one year.
It was Odell Beckham. Yeah, this is – I don't know where did they just keep – DeAndre Hopkins is on the Ravens, by the way.
He is?
He is.
I don't think he's going to play very much on the Ravens.
He's their third receiver.
No, he's not.
All right, I take it back. They can have they can go after Tyreek Hill.
Okay.
This is bad.
It's never been good. That's the whole thing, is that they never have good receivers. They just retread the old heads.
This is bad. So I do like the shout of the Ravens, even though I previously said I didn't. The Texans, another team who they had a bunch of receivers, and then one left. One got his leg just seriously injured. We don't know how Tank Dell is going to – well, he's not even going to be ready.
He's not going to play this year.
So I think the Texans are in. I think the Chargers should be in. I think that would be great.
But the Chargers have – I know they've got white dude from Georgia, Ladd McConkey.
Ladd McConkey.
Who's their number 2? I can look it up too real quick. But
it's not great. They basically switch back and forth between
Mike Williams.
Yeah, Mike Williams, who will forget how to catch the football.
Okay, they drafted a receiver this year, so at least that makes a little more sense. Oh, Quentin Johnson. Remember, everyone thought he was going to be so good, Quentin Johnson.
Those are two guys that are both supposed to be much better than they are.
Yeah, so they took Trey Harris in the second round this year, so he'll probably be their number 3.
On this list, I would say the 49ers need a wide receiver the least. On this list, out of the Ravens, Texans, and Chargers.
I think the 49ers could use a wide receiver. I just don't think they need Tyreek Hill. I think they probably need a 1-year, $7 million wide receiver, like a temporary stopgap, but they don't need a giant trade like for a Tyreek Hill.
And I saw that Ricky Pearsall injured his hammy, so he's going to be out. Not, anything serious, to be ready for the beginning of the season. Do we not talk enough about, and I know I did, and we talked about it last year as well, but this Ricky Pearsall pick, I feel like the Niners, and we'll see what happens this season, I feel like they should be getting dragged more for the Ricky Pearsall pick.
I don't want to do it because he obviously got shot in the chest, but
he was injured a lot. It was a reach before he got shot.
Yes, it was a reach.
And he was injured before he got shot.
Yes, they reached for him in the first round knowing they probably weren't going to get him at 63. Now, the problem I would have with that, if he's not worth picking at 31, don't pick him at 31. He'll either fall to 63 or he probably won't be, worth the draft pick in the moment. They probably should have taken an offensive lineman or an edge rusher. But I also don't want to say like, oh, he's been an outright disappointment because of the whole getting shot thing. That's something he can't really control.
You can separate that though. I guess.
But you're saying drag.
Well, I guess it protects the Niners, right? Because the Niners could say, hey, we don't know what his career would have looked like if it didn't happen. I guess they could say that. I just wasn't a fan of the pick before the tragedy.
Sure, I understand that, but I can separate the two. You're just making the point of they should be dragged for the pick a little bit more, and I would say let's not do that yet.
They got Brandon Ayuk, who we got to see when he'll be available. Juwan Jennings is the best receiver on the team.
Well, no, it's Brandon Ayuk.
Juwan Jennings is the best receiver on that team.
No, Allen.
He is.
They just paid Brandon Ayuk top 15 receiver money.
Yeah, I know, and they didn't want to.
Yeah, but he's still better than Juwan Jennings.
I don't know that he is, Kyle. I really don't. I haven't seen Brandon Ayuk. The last time I saw Brandon Ayuk, he was injured. The last time I saw Brandon Ayuk before he was injured, he stunk. He stunk.
Okay, so let's say Brandon Ayuk's the number 1 receiver.
Yeah.
But you don't know for sure if he's the best receiver.
That's fine. He's number 1 on the depth chart. Cool. It's the same thing as in a pitching rotation. You can have your number 1, right? Your number 1 in your rotation, but maybe the number 2 is actually a little bit better. But because of money, because of status, whatever it is, hey, our number 1 guy is going to be our number 1 guy.
I'm just looking up his contract real quick here, because to bring it back to the Tyreek Hill thing, it's like they don't need that level of an investment. But you know what they could use? Someone like a Cortland Sutton. That's what they could use as receiver help right now. It's not a long-term investment. It's not a super. See, 1 year left on his deal. Look, that's what the Niners need to do, right? Is like a short-term investment. You don't have to give up a ton of draft capital for it. One of those compensatory picks will do. Some player like that is not a top 30 receiver, but you can slot in as a number 2 receiver. That's kind of what the Niners need. They don't need a Tyreek Hill type of trade right now. And look, maybe Ricky Pearsall will be that, but for the time being, I'm saying number 2.
Okay.
Not saying he'll be Tyreek Hill. I'm saying maybe Ricky Pearsall will be Cortland Sutton.
Maybe.
But if you're not thinking that's going to be the case, you kind of should do a plug and play number 2 type receiver right now. And maybe that'll be Ricky Pearsall and we won't have to worry about it.
Yeah. You know, what's funny is you have Tyreek Hill, who it was so weird the way he rode, not weird because that's his teammate, but he just rode for Tua so hard, and we get all that. And for him to now, and you know, what did he called Tua the most accurate quarterback, I think, in the league, or that he's played for, whatever the case is. It doesn't work out. He was essentially lying. We all knew he was lying. We all knew he was, I shouldn't say lying. We all knew he was playing up how good Tua was, because he took the money and he wanted to pretend like they were actually a threat and he wasn't just chasing the bag when that's all he was doing. Now, if you find yourself on the Niners, you would have another quarterback that a lot of people think that, well, you're carrying him, right? I would love to see Tyreek on a team. And honestly, people would have that conversation even if he was on the Ravens, because people disrespect Lamar Jackson and his ability to throw the football. So the only kind of QBs, I think you would say traditionally that he would say, man, can you imagine Tyreek? He'd really get an opportunity, would be, I think, Justin Herbert and or CJ Stroud. Those would be the 2 where I think you'd be able to say Tyreek is being put in a position that's the most similar to where he was with the Chiefs.
Well, I guess that's more a byproduct of the quality of quarterback, right?
Right.
But
that's no disrespect to Lamar, and I think Lamar's arm talent is underrated, but I don't know that Tyreek would flourish there the same way he would flourish with. Honestly, the main one I'd say probably CJ Stroud before Justin Herbert, because I don't know what the hell kind of offense the Chargers are trying to run.
I mean, I don't know if Tyreek Hill, again, this is more a question of what Tyreek Hill is at this point in his career, because we're getting real close to the period that everyone was like, you don't want Tyreek Hill for this part of his career, where he's on the decline and the speed, he's not the fastest player in the world.
And he was injured a little bit last season.
True, but I would also make the point the year before, Tyreek Hill was one of the great receiver seasons ever. Like, Tyreek Hill has made me rethink what value the receiver position has, because like they built the entire offense around a receiver, and Tua's skill set was essentially placated to him and Waddle, or Tyreek Hill and Waddle, and it worked. Like they were the top offense in the NFL for that season because of Tyreek Hill. And so Tyreek Hill is such an excellent receiver that I would normally be like, hey, yes, you sign up for that guy. He's one of those 4 guys that you just say, salary be damned, situation be damned. He's one of those guys you can build an offense completely around. I think it's just more so a question of what is Tyreek Hill now at 29 years old, and is that going to keep up, or have his best days been behind him?
Yeah, brother, you gave him a little too much grace there. He's 31.
I was 31. See, that's the same. But at 29, he had one of the great receiver seasons I've ever seen.
Yeah, he is 31 years old. And the thing about Tyreek is, I mean, he's had has had whatever you think at this point, Olympic speed. You know, he ran a 4.2. 4.29.
And I assume in any trade, you're not paying him the full salary. Like, I assume Miami's going to have to pay down some of that contract if they trade him. So it's not even a contract question. It's more so do you make that investment for a focal point of, like, you're going to have to change the way that you run your offense. Mm-hmm. Are you the 49ers or are you the Ravens willing to do that when your offenses have worked? Like for the Texans and the Chargers, I understand it. Their offenses have been very good, but not to the standard you would expect of a team with a Justin Herbert or a CJ Stroud.
This is going to seem like a wild comparison, but hang with me. I think in this specific regard, I think the Niners and the A's of West Sacramento are in similar spots in that they both are just trying to get through this year, right? I think that when we talked about the A's, maybe moving Mason Miller, maybe making some type of deal, the A's then went on to lose 11 straight. They're doing horribly right now, and there's no point in moving anyone. Your season is not cooked, but it's just another developmental season. That's what it's going to be. That's not what it is for the Niners, but you finally move on from Debo. All that drama, you pay Debo. All the Niners do is pay wide receivers what they don't want to pay them. You move on from Debo. You paid him. Right after you paid him, you signed Christian McCaffrey. Debo got chubby. He changed his number. He forgot how to run routes. He was never good at running routes. He was ticked off because he wasn't getting the ball. Then he was terrible last season. So you cleared out that drama. He can go get on his Washington kind of swag and move on and have a chip on his shoulder, get back in shape and ball out. He can go on and do that. He can get on Ozempic and make it pop. Cool for Debo. That is now out the building. There are no contracts or pending contracts in the building right now that you have to worry about. Hey, Brandon Ayuk, you're our number one guy. We got rid of Debo, so let's just let bygones be bygones and go from there. The Niners are not in a position where they want to add in some kind of, I don't know if Tyreek Hill is a diva or not, but he's a quite the character, right? And that's putting it lightly.
He's got his problems.
He's got his problems, even outside of the problems. You know, he'll just be out here racing a zebra for whatever reason. He's huge into social media. People were freaking out at the Debo podcast, right? I don't think it's a match at all. I think if the Niners felt like they were a Tyreek away, I don't know that the Niners even think they're a Tyreek away. And specifically, I don't know if the Niners think that they are a 31-year-old Tyreek away.
Yeah, and I think the Tyreek part is more specific too, because it's like, I feel like we have enough data to conclude this guy's not a good person. Like, just not a good person. And so that's the hard part of like willingly inviting that in, knowing that it's not a scheme fit and you have to rebuild that scheme around him. And then you factor in the 31-year-old thing. Because again, whatever they would have given up to get Tyreek Hill is probably what they would have traded Brandon Ayuk for. So now they've got Brandon Ayuk, and bringing him in also would be an all-in level move that I just don't know if they're prepared for.
Yeah, and the other thing is, it's pretty obvious, a lot of these wide receivers, they have egos. And if you're Brandon Ayuk and you already had drafted Ricky Pearsall, you had all the drama where you essentially out the door. Then you say, hey, Brandon, like I said, bygones be bygones, Debo's out. And now all of a sudden we bring in Tyreek Hill, who he would be perceived as the number one without a doubt, even at 31. Now, if you're Brandon Ayuk, you're thinking, what's going on here? What's going on here? Let's let Ricky Cook and Jawan Jennings, who you signed, last year as well. Overrated, underrated, properly rated, young quarterback edition Where does Brock Purdy fall along with the other quarterbacks under 25? Allen Stiles, Sactown Sports.
At Fisher Investments, we may seem like other money managers, but we're different.
What makes you so different than the rest of us?
We ensure clients receive unparalleled service at every step of the relationship.
Tell me more.
Our investment counselors focus on service over sales, prioritizing clients' needs.
How do you make money?
We don't sell any commission-based products. We have a simple management fee based on the value of our clients' portfolio. So we do better when our clients do better.
What about client portfolios?
We get to know each client, their finances, family, health, lifestyle, and more. And then we tailor a portfolio based on their specific goals and needs.
Your clients really come first then, huh?
Yes, we make them a top priority. Our goal is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement.
Wow, maybe we are different.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Allen Stiles. Watch the show on youtube.com/Sactown Sports 1140.
Or listen on the Sactown Sports app.
Overrated, underrated, properly rated. We have a list of quarterbacks 25 and under, including Brock Purdy, 25 and under as we head into the 2025-2026 season. Where do they fall? So this list can range from, and again, I'm doing it based on age because I think that's the easiest way to do it. These guys are, like I said, 25 and under. And I want to start with one. Kyle's taking a call right now, but I want to get his thoughts on each QB as well. And the first quarterback, here's my list: Anthony Richardson, Bryce Young, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, CJ Stroud, Bo Nix. Everybody talks like Bo Nix is 28 years old. He's not 28 years old, even though it feels like he was. He just played for a lot of colleges. Bo Nix is 25, and he just turned 25 in February, by the way. So Bo Nix is on the list as well as Brock Purdy. Okay, I'm going to start with Anthony Richardson. Overrated, underrated, or properly rated. To me, this one is pretty straightforward because I think he's properly rated. I think people don't even know if he's going to start over Daniel Jones. He's gotten opportunities. He hasn't necessarily made the most of it. He's shown some flashes. He'll just have a random 50-yard bomb every once in a while. And besides that, you just don't really hear from him. He had the whole weird drama. He got benched last season. He had the weird drama where he took himself out. And, right after he had a concussion or some type of injury, they were running him ragged. He's injury prone. Anthony Richardson, to me, I think is properly rated because I just don't think people believe he's very good.
He's one of those guys that he's going to get someone fired, and we're at that stage right now. I did love the joke, though, that someone made that said after the Giants signed Daniel Jones to be the backup, they're like, this is the fairest quarterback competition of all time. If you can't beat Daniel Jones, buddy, you don't deserve that starting job.
Yeah, and when you look at these boom or bust prospects, this is what happens. We've seen these kind of waves go up and down when it comes to what's trendy. I remember everybody talking about, Brock Purdy went last. Brock Purdy went last in the draft. We have to stop drafting on ceilings, people. It will never happen. It is too tantalizing. It is too sexy to draft a 6'4", 6'5" dude that can throw the ball 90 yards and runs a 4.4.
Well, I think there's just been a correction, right? Because it used to be nobody was taking those guys in the first round. But there were a handful of them. Colin Kaepernick was a version of that with the 49ers, but they took him at pick 47 or something like that?
Yeah.
But then after Josh Allen, who people forget Mel Kiper had Josh Allen as like one of the 10 highest graded quarterback prospects ever. After Josh Allen, everyone was like, well, we can make it work with Josh Allen. And I think the reality is there was only one Josh Allen. Mm-hmm. And the reason why there was only one Josh Allen is he grew like 7 inches in college or something. Like he had that late growth spurt thing happen where he kind of was learning how to fit into his body. And now you've seen that correction, right? Because when you take Jalen Hurts in the second round, you can put pieces around Jalen Hurts and he can look something like a franchise quarterback. But Anthony Richardson or Trey Lance, those guys, you probably took them too high. And by the way, it corrected itself now because Jalen Milroe's that same quarterback and he got taken in the 3rd round.
By the way, Josh Allen got married this weekend to Haley Steinfeld. And congrats to that man. Congrats to that man. Next on the list, Bryce Young. Overrated, underrated, properly rated. I think this is an interesting one because Bryce Young had the weird situation where everyone thought he stunk, okay, and then he gets benched for Andy Dalton, and he came back, played pretty well with no expectations, and now I think he's on the fringe of properly rated. I think we're getting a little close to overrated with Bryce Young because, cool, he played well at the end of the season after things were cooked. It's still properly rated, but we're getting a little close to overrated with Bryce Young based on some games that didn't matter.
We're just finally putting a stable. They've finally recovered from the Bryce Young trade to now they can actually put a competent, stable organization around him. I'm kind of curious to see what Dave Canales and the Panthers can do with him this year because now they've got 2 receivers. They've got a halfway decent offensive line. I'm not saying it's going to be great, but I'm saying he was set up to fail from the very beginning. And it's weird because his value was in the absolute gutter until he played great in 8 games that literally nobody watched. Like nobody was watching the Panthers. They were just seeing their fantasy teams have good numbers. And people kind of believed, oh, Bryce Young's finally turning a corner. I'm just curious to see what they do this year.
Yeah, and you got Xavier Leggett. I've also heard Leggett for the pronunciation on that, by the way.
I have heard both. I'm not sure.
I've heard both, but he's out there. He's just eating raccoon and catching touchdown passes.
Did you see that funny video of them giving him a mic while he was sitting ringside at the Carolina Hurricanes hockey game? Oh, so funny.
Yeah, so I think that Bryce Young is properly rated, but
they also drafted Tet this year with the 8 picks.
That's right. Bryce Young is properly rated, but I do think people want to it's a huge season for Bryce Young where he can, not get to overrated, but can get to a point where people are really excited about what is going on in Carolina. More quarterbacks to get through when we return. We still have Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, CJ Stroud, Bo Nix, and of course, Brock Purdy when we return. Allen Stiles, Sactown Sports.
Did you know addiction to drugs like meth or cocaine is a disease and not a choice? But getting help is. If you have stimulant use disorder, you, your family, and friends may have a lot of questions, including where to start. Choose Change California can help. Make a change today and find a proven treatment option for you at choosechangeca.org.
Whitey here for Napoleon Grills, reminding you that when buying a new grill, every detail matters. While supplies last, you'll receive a $149 gift with purchase on every new Napoleon Prestige stainless steel grill. The kit even includes a pizza lover starter kit and much more. And now up to $79 off Napoleon Rogue models. Napoleon grills are built different, built better, built to last, with a lifetime warranty and premium steel that boasts amazing quality. Visit Green Acres Nursery today for your best selection of Napoleon grills and accessories.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
With 25 award-winning years in Northern California,
Ashton & Price is your local injury law firm. Pro attorney tip, if a firm presents as local, but they're in LA, red flag. If your first consultation is not with a lawyer, big red flag. At Ashton & Price, your first consult is with a local attorney, and if serious injury prevents travel, a lawyer will come to you. Still not enough? George Washington's my uncle. At Ashton & Price, no red flags, just red, white, and blue.
Remember, for the best advice, don't think twice. Call Ashton and Price.
Finally, an easy way to find home improvement contractors. Just visit subcontractorsunited.com and simplify your search for home services professionals. From cabinets to windows, roofing to plumbing, Subcontractors United is an easy, simple way to find and hire a home improvement contractor. And you never have to give up personal information. So no harassing phone calls like you get from those other websites. SubcontractorsUnited.com is sponsored by D&D Cabinets and Savage Design.
Allen Stiles
You can join the show by texting 916-339-1140.
on Sacktown Sports.
Coming up in about 10 minutes, who has the worst PR in the NBA? The Dallas Mavericks, the Phoenix Suns, the Sacramento Kings, or Karl Anthony Towns? That's it.
That is so rude.
That's it. Karl Anthony Towns, somehow the Knicks losing was his fault. And I have defended Karl Anthony Towns for a long time. I know the different voices, and after all that, I know he's funny. I know, but we're not talking about Karl Anthony Towns, the meme. We're talking about talking heads saying that he's got to go. And a report that came out. This is what's so crazy. The Athletic, they are ruthless. They are basically sports TMZ with a conscience. Because
that seems journalistically irresponsible.
Because for them to drop the article that they dropped about Karl Anthony Towns and the Knicks, again, they be having these things waiting, because I'll talk to Brendan Nunez and Frankie, who, great articles for us, and you prepare your articles. I've wrote a couple articles for the station too. You prepare the articles and then you drop them. They just itch. They are just itching to drop this stuff once these teams lose. It happened with the Warriors, even though Joe Lacob was essentially a part of it. And it happened with the Knicks as well. So in 10 minutes, and we discussed the Karl Anthony Towns drama, if you will. Can the Kings possibly take advantage of it? But we're going to get through the rest of these quarterbacks first. We talked about Anthony Richardson, Bryce Young. Next on the list, Kyle, underrated, properly rated, or overrated, Caleb Williams. Now, again, this is more of a vibes thing, right? Because we're basing this on how you feel about him, how I feel about him, and how we think the media feels about him. Little sidebar, since I went to that summit in Chicago, I have clicked on a bunch of Chicago stations, and I connected with a lot of radio hosts out there. So I'm seeing a bunch more Chicago-focused clips on social media than I typically see. And this Caleb Williams thing, that report that Caleb tried to get out of being signed by the Bears.
Oh, it's not a report. It's in a book.
I mean, it is incredible. And with all that being said, based on what happened last season, I want to ride for him, Kyle, and say that he's underrated, but he really just didn't do enough. I think he's properly rated. I think he's got to prove something. And stop holding on to the football.
No. The problem is the Bears. The problem is not him.
Kyle.
The funniest detail in that report about, they tried to circumvent the salary cap and everything else is, their biggest concern was that Matt Eberflus and Shane Waldron were not going to put him in a position to succeed, and he was immediately proven correct. The very second he stepped on the field, it was these guys don't know what they're doing. Mm-hmm. They did not draft an offensive lineman who could protect him. It was immediately proven correct by the Bears just not knowing how to protect quarterbacks.
So are you saying he's underrated?
I'm saying he's properly rated, but this year I'm saying I'm giving him the Bears pass, which is that they fired the coach midway through the season. There were reports that he just stopped talking to the offensive coordinator. He stood up in a meeting after a game and called out the offensive coordinator in like week 4. Like the Bears totally set him up to fail last year. And I'm saying at least it wasn't Trevor Lawrence with Urban Meyer.
Yeah, which we don't know if he'll ever recover, to be honest with you.
Are you talking about Trevor or Caleb?
Trevor
got $255 million. He's going to be just fine.
255 million reasons to figure it out. Yeah, so we agree on this. Obviously, the details of all the other drama going on, not our fight. Not our fight. I just finished Last of Us Season 2. Not our fight. That's what I will say. But, yeah, I'm going to say Caleb's properly rated. You got to show me something. This next one, I know people are going to be mad at me, so I'll let you go first, Kyle. Overrated, underrated, properly rated, Jaden Daniels.
I guess overrated at this point.
Thank you.
And I only say that not because of anything he's done. I only say that because you need a larger sample size with these quarterbacks to know whether they're going to be the next great thing or something like that. I know Jaden Daniels can play quarterback in the NFL, which I can't say about Bryce Young. I can't say that about Anthony Richardson, and they've had just as large a sample sizes as Jaden Daniels. But yeah, Jaden Daniels is a very good quarterback. Let's not pretend that he's all of a sudden a top 5 quarterback right now.
Yeah, I would say the main thing that makes me feel good about Jaden Daniels, and I'm actually going to defend the Jaden Daniels hype, is that I think there are a bunch of quarterbacks that don't look like that based on the weapons, right? You could argue, I know that Caleb didn't have a offensive line to speak of, but you could argue that Caleb's weapons were actually better than Jaden Daniels' weapons. So to me, the biggest win for Jaden Daniels, as far as the argument is concerned, is that he did it with whatever is left of Zach Ertz and
a bunch of guys named Brown.
Yes, and Terry McLaurin, who shows up once every 2 games.
No, don't do that. Terry McLaurin is so good.
Terry McLaurin
is so good for having had so many quarterbacks.
Who's better, Terry McLaurin or Brandon Ayuk?
I think they're about the same. I would probably lean Terry McLaurin slightly, but that's just because he's been around longer.
Yeah, they are both, we talk about elite number 1s in basketball. They are both, I would say, elite number 2s.
They're both top 20 receivers.
But closer to 20.
Yeah.
Or 25.
Not top 15, but they're both top 20.
And we'll see what Debo looks like. I know I was roasting Debo earlier. I wish him the best. And we'll see what Debo looks like and go back to being a wide back.
Washington's just going to be a very interesting team because I also people were like, he was in the NFC Championship. Yeah, if a field goal against Tampa hits the post and doesn't go in, they lose in the wild card. Okay, it's not like this was some like incredible run.
I'm not even doing that.
Yeah,
I'm giving him his kudos for getting there.
I know. I'm doing a straw man argument. I'm sure there's people like, how can you possibly say he's overrated? He was in the NFC. Well, first of all, they lost by 58 points in the NFC Championship, and second of all, if a field goal hits the goalpost and doesn't go in against the Bucs, they lose in the wild card.
And doesn't that just say more about the NFC than it does about Washington? Last season, the Niners were a mess. Everybody was a mess. But the Eagles, they were elite and they took care of business. Next on the list, this one might be a little early. I don't even know how to approach it. Drake May.
And people in Boston seem to love him.
And that's what I'm saying. You know, you get these guys. To me, Drake May and Bo Nix have the same type of hype. We got these kind of burly quarterbacks that can run a little bit and can fling it a little bit. And now all of a sudden, they're the next dude. I think I like Bo Nix better than Drake May, but I think Drake May isn't overrated because nobody is talking about Drake May outside of New England, so I probably would say properly rated.
Yeah, I'd go properly rated for different reasons than Caleb Williams, right? Because it's too early for all of these rookies about to be sophomores. Caleb, him, Jaden. I'm sure we'll get to Bo Nix at some point. Like, it's too early for all of those guys to make that assessment, but for Drake, you just didn't really see enough of him. At least now they've got some semblance of receivers, right? Because they drafted another one in the first round this year. They got Mac Hollins. They got pink powder on a boat in Miami guy.
Yeah.
So
Cardi B's boyfriend.
yeah, that dude. At least they have some semblance of receivers now instead of rolling out Keyshawn Booty, who, for those who don't know, was caught up in like a gambling scandal in college.
Is it Booty or Booty?
I call him Booty.
It's got to be Booty.
I'm gonna go Booty. But either way, you got Booty and Kendrick Bourne. They were running out last year. At least they finally have some semblance of receivers.
Next on the list, this is a tough one. CJ Stroud. I'll go first.
Sure, go ahead.
CJ Stroud, to me, is now properly rated because this is the Jaden Daniels thing. CJ Stroud, to me, is now properly rated because he came into last season overrated. And he went through a sophomore slump, and now people are not calling him the next great thing. Jaden Daniels being on number one quarterback in the league list, which is insane to me, and that's why I have him as overrated. But CJ Stroud went through this on a smaller level last season, or going into last season. He's out in Japan with Micah Parsons doing sumo wrestling. His guys couldn't stay healthy. That's part of it too. I don't think he regressed. I think that there's a scouting report. A couple things happened, and now he's properly rated.
Yeah, and even in a sophomore slump season, they still beat Justin Herbert in the playoffs as the number 4 seed.
That's
so
true.
I don't know what this year is going to look like for the Texans, because they traded Laramie Tunsil, and I don't understand why they traded Laramie Tunsil. I know they got some good draft picks back, but like they kind of really needed Laramie Tunsil, and all the receivers got hurt last season. So I don't know what to do with the Texans. I'm sure they're going to be fine because they play in that pyramid scheme of a division that is the AFC South, but I don't know what to do with anything. See, I'll say properly rated just because I don't know what to do with anything Houston Texans right now. Even if they are bad next year, I don't even know how much of that is going to be on CJ Stroud because he's throwing to Xavier Hutchinson and has no offensive line.
Well, they kept one.
They've got Nico. They've got Nico Collins. But he can't throw to Nico all the time.
Yeah, they lost Tank, and obviously Stephon Diggs was there, was on a boat, and he's gone. 2 more to get to. I'm really excited about this.
Oh, yeah, I forgot the Texans of Christian Kirk now, too.
Oh, yeah. He got the bag from the Jaguars a couple years ago. I'm really excited for this next one, Kyle, so I'm going to let you go first. Bo Nix.
I guess does anyone even have enough of an opinion of Bo Nix to qualify? He is perfect for what he is. I'll say properly rated because he is as good of a game manager as you're going to find in the league right now. I think last year he had like 14 touchdowns to 1 interception the last 6 weeks of the season. But they also didn't ask him to like ever throw the ball more than 30 yards down the field. So I guess I'll say properly rated Bo Nix is. We know what Bo Nix is. He's Bo Nix.
I got to tell you, I got to be honest with you since it's just me and you talking here. Over the weekend, during the weekend, I can find myself in some TikTok black holes. And nothing gets you more amped up than a compilation highlight video with some hardcore hip hop in the background where they're talking at first, right? They'll have interviews from the players and they're saying, oh, Bo is him. And then they drop the beat and they just show crazy highlights. And I'm telling you right now, it got me good, Kyle. I'm on the Bo train.
So you're saying underrated?
I think the brother's underrated. I think he's going to be a problem. And this is coming from a Raider fan. I think Bo Nix. And I thought that I fell for the Bo Nix is old and he's 28 years old and he's got 2 kids. I don't know if he has kids or not.
He is older than Trey Lance.
Trey Lance was on this list when I looked up the young QBs and I thought, God bless him. But I would say Bo Nix is underrated. I think he might be one of them ones.
So here's what's tough about it for him this year. Denver's defense is awesome, like really awesome. So if they're going to be good next year, I'm pretty sure it's going to be because of their defense.
You know what's funny? Not to cut you off just real quick. I wonder if the Broncos would be interested. Wasn't on their list, and I don't know their money situation, but the Broncos getting a Tyreek Hill, I could see being a thing.
I'm trying to think. It's still just they didn't really add anyone this year, which is interesting. I mean, they drafted a running back super early, but they also let Javonte Williams leave. So, yeah, I don't really know what to do with the Broncos offense because, like we said, Courtland Sutton's got 1 year left on his deal. I don't think Marvin Mims is going to be a star. Troy Franklin was Bo Nix.
He can run the go route, though.
He can run the go route. Troy Franklin was Bo Nix's college teammate, so I guess that's something good going for you. But I honestly don't.
You know what they are? They're a lesser version of what we thought the Packers wide receivers were going to be.
That's a funny way to look at it. But it's also been that way forever. Like, the Broncos have not had a star receiver in because it was always like Tim Patrick and Courtland Sutton and a first round pick that wasn't going to be something, whether it's Mims or Jerry Jeudy. It's just like,
and that 7-foot quarterback.
Yeah, that too. That was the other. Well, they kind of went away from that for a little bit.
Was that Brock Osweiler?
Well, they had Osweiler, but they had a run of tall guys because they drafted Paxton Lynch. Then they had Osweiler. And then they had. There's another guy. Oh, they had Case Keenum. Like, they just kind of went through a run of those guys. Yeah. But then they went to Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's short, and that didn't work out.
We don't say the SH word on this show. Last but not least, got to go quick here, Kyle, and we talk about this guy the most. Brock Purdy, overrated, underrated, properly rated. I will go first, and it is a tough one. I think Brock Purdy, I know it sounds like a cop-out, but I think he's properly rated.
Yeah.
Between the people that kind of prop him up and the people that tear him down, I think we find ourselves somewhere in the middle.
I'm going to say properly rated because I don't want my Twitter mentions to explode.
There you go. On the other side, speaking of Twitter exploding, the Karl Anthony Towns PR nightmare continues. Can the Kings take advantage of it? Allen Stiles, Sactown Sports.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-932-5858. That's 800-932-5858. 800-932-5858.
I gotta get business cards printed for my entire staff, but where do I even?
That was easy.
Oh, okay, Staples. But can I have bigger stuff printed too, like huge signs and banners?
That was easy.
Nice. And what if I had to ship a package?
That was easy.
Have my passport photo taken?
That was easy.
Coffee and snacks?
That was easy.
What about the latest laptops?
That was
Earbuds
easy.
and headphones?
That was
Office
easy.
chairs?
That was easy.
I think I also need to get some Staples.
Seriously?
I had to ask.
For everything your business needs to get the job done.
Staples. That was easy.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the NBA Finals.
In the NBA Finals, any moment can become unforgettable. Now is your chance to watch the next moment you'll remember forever.
Jordan, open. Chicago with the lead.
Unforgettable awaits.
Anything's possible.
The 2025 NBA Finals presented by YouTube TV begin June 5th on ABC.
Sometimes an identity threat is a ring of professional hackers. And sometimes it's an overworked accountant who forgot to encrypt their connection while sending bank details.
I need a coffee.
And you need LifeLock because your info is in endless places. It only takes one mistake to expose you to identity theft. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
It's your captain speaking. To the passenger with the mirror fast soft shoes, smart move.
No way am I letting travel constipation ruin this trip.
Can't blame you. Mirror fast works fast, but without the harsh side effects.
Since I'm such a smart traveler, can I move to first class?
No. Close the curtain, girl.
From the makers of Miralax, new Mirafast soft chews work naturally with your body in as little as 30 minutes to give you a comfortable go on the go. Look for Mirafast at Walmart today. Use as directed for occasional constipation. Contains magnesium hydroxide.
The giant summer sale is here. Get giant savings on our giant selection only at Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop.
Looking to own or lease? Save during the giant summer sale and drive a brand new Accord or Civic. Visit us today at FolsomLakeHonda.com, your one-stop Honda shop.
As a family-owned and operated dealership since 2009, customer service is our #1 priority. Our customers love doing business with us, and you will too.
Folsom Lake Honda. Go to FolsomLakeHonda.com.
Your one-stop Honda shop.
Hey, it's Carmichael Dave here for American Energy, and oh my goodness, I'm born and raised here. I know it gets hot, but my goodness, we're already seeing 100-degree days. Listen to me. You do not want your system to conk out in the middle of June or July or August with one of those big 100-degree stretches. You want to make sure you're good all summer long. And my friends at American Energy Heating and Air can do that with a $24.50 tune-up right now. That's half price. And if you need a new system, $3,500 off, up to $3,500 off in rebates for qualified systems. They've been around since 1981, serving the greater Sacramento area. A+ with the Better Business Bureau. Call them right now, 916-520-9990. That's 916-520-9990. Jingle Singers, take it away.
Call 916-520-9990 now.
Live and local.
It's Allen Stiles
on Sacktown Sports.
After all that, after everything Karl Anthony Towns did for the city, his city, I should say, more specifically, of New York.
Well, he's from New Jersey.
Close enough. By the way, Yasi Goolin joins us in 15 minutes talking everything NBA Cap. Yasi had kind of a crazy trade scenario that people were tagging me on social media as far as the Pelicans and the Kings and how the Pelicans could not only move up, but move up and get Domantas Sabonis. So somehow it would be Zion and Sabonis in New Orleans, and what the Kings would get back in return. Well, we will talk to Yasi about that in about 15 minutes, so don't go anywhere. And if you are going to be running around, we will have that for you up on YouTube and the Sacktown Sports app shortly after. The PR nightmare of Karl Anthony Towns strikes again. So, and when this got posted, Kyle, if I'm not mistaken, May 31st, that's when the Knicks lost.
Yes, Saturday.
Okay, so right after the confetti is not even off the court yet. Okay?
They haven't even done their pressers.
No. The Haliburton meme thinking that he was getting the Eastern Conference MVP hasn't even gone viral yet. And The Athletic comes out with this article. Okay, and within the article, and the article was written by Fred Katz and James Edwards III. This is a snippet of the article. Knicks players and coaches were reportedly frustrated with Karl Anthony Towns' defensive habits. Again, not even 2 hours after the game ended. Publicly, here's a quote. Publicly, Knicks players made veiled comments all season about poor communication causing their inconsistencies. Behind the scenes, they and coaches expressed frustration with Towns' defensive habits, less concern with his talent level and more with his process on that end. Too often, Towns executed incorrect coverages without communicating why he did it. After it became a theme, players worried Towns didn't grasp the importance of the matter. Also posted right after the game ended, trading Cat should be priority number one for the Knicks. That's from Kevin O'Connor, who obviously has covered the NBA for a very long time. That goes viral. I don't know what it is with this guy, man. And Karl Anthony Towns was on the MVP ladder for a large part of this season. I get it. He's not good at defense, but where are y'all at offensively? Where are y'all at? Can he really? And Kyle, you've talked about this, how the Knicks defense stunk, and we've gone back and forth about Mikal Bridges as a one-on-one defender and OG Anunoby as a one. Those are both very good one-on-one defenders. Is this all Karl Anthony Towns' fault? They get further than they've been in 2 decades, and they want to ship him out the building after they just acquired him in a trade.
Well, Karl Anthony Towns has the Zach LaVine syndrome, just to a lesser, or I guess a better situation, right? Is like Zach LaVine's a number 3 who makes number 2 money, or even number 1 money, depending on who your team is. Karl Anthony Towns is a clear-cut number 2 who also is making number 1 in the league money. Like, he's making $53 million next year, $57 the year after, $61 million player option the year after that. Mm-hmm. And so it's nothing to do with Karl's game. If Karl made $40 million a year, there would be teams lined up to go get him, because we know he's just as good, if not better, than Domantas Sabonis. Right. The problem is Karl Anthony Towns gets paid like a number 1, and he's just got this weird thing, man, where, I mean, he's got a lot of weird things, but specifically has weird thing where he just turns into a sucker in the playoffs. And it's weird. Not that he's bad. It's just he starts settling for threes, not playing good defense, has these clunkers of games where, like, Minnesota was like, we'd rather just play Naz Reid on the floor at sometimes.
But I'm saying specifically with the Knicks, though. Specifically with the Knicks.
Well, yeah, but I think Kevin O'Connor is wrong. That's the underlying point. They should not trade Karl. They should absolutely try and make this Brunson and Karl thing work.
I'm looking here, and last season with the Timberwolves, Karl averaged 19 points and 9 rebounds. This season with the Knicks in the playoffs, he averaged 21 points and 11 rebounds. I just think that the Knicks, it's so funny how these teams feel like they do everything right, they lose, and it's just as if they've done everything wrong, right? I don't know what the Knicks need. Becky Hammon, we've gone back and forth with Becky Hammon. Was she right about Jalen Brunson, or was she wrong? I don't think it's as much about Karl Anthony Towns and the defense as much as it is about he cannot be your number 2 scoring option. I know he's getting paid like that, or he can be your number 2. I think the conversation is more about Mikal and OG Anunoby.
I think that's where they make improvement, but I would make the point Karl absolutely can be a number 2 on a championship team. How do we know this? He's been in the conference finals with 2 different teams 2 years in a row.
I'm not trying to ship him off.
Yeah, no, neither of us are.
And he got shipped off after last season, and now there's a conversation to ship him off this season. I'm not saying he can't be a number 2. What I'm saying is he can be a number 2 if OG or Mikal Bridges, who they traded 8,000 first picks for, can do their damn job offensively.
Well, this is the tough part, is last year it made sense for them to trade Karl to get out from the contract. Like, they were worried about the contract part of it, and the fit with him and Gobert never made sense. I mean, they tried it, but you saw in the playoffs in that closeout game against Dallas, he was like 1 for 6 from the 3-point line, and the joke was, when the going gets tough, Karl's gonna pull up from 28 feet and probably brick. Like, in the playoffs, he was just like, they had to take him off the floor because he just couldn't stop shooting bad threes in Minnesota. Mm-hmm. This year, there's not really a lot of complaints about his offensive ability. He won them that game 3 against Indiana. Like, Karl had great moments as a number 2 this season, but to your point, OG and Mikal Bridges and Josh Hart were supposed to be the defense first guys.
That's what I'm saying.
And
I'm not going to pretend like I've watched extensive tape of the Knicks, but it's crazy. Did he really sabotage them that bad that the confetti is still on the floor, and Fred Katz and James Edward are saying, this is what they say, and maybe that is what they're saying. It just feels more to me like this is a PR thing and Kat's an easy target versus, no, yeah, we're going home because of Karl Anthony Towns. I don't think you're going to be there without Karl Anthony Towns.
Well, they would not be without him making the leap he did this season. But at the same time, that I don't think he got better. I think they just started playing him at the 5. Mm-hmm. And I think that was probably always of course it was. He's 7'1". Of course they should be playing him at the 5. But I think the other part of it is dudes just don't like Karl.
Because Miles Turner isn't great defensively either.
Sure, I'm just saying the PR aspect of it is I don't think he's very likable. Not even saying to fans. I don't think his teammates really like him all that much.
Clearly not. On the other side, we talked to Yasi Goolin, NBA salary cap analyst for the Third Apron. Yasi has an incredible deal that he cooked up between the Pelicans and the Kings with Sabonis involved. We also go ask him about all the rumors about the crazy moves being made and the value of some of the Kings' assets. Allen Stiles, Stockton Sports.
Huge news. Right now at Wendy's, you can get a Son of Baconator for just $3. I don't think you understand this situation. The Son of Baconator is only $3 for a limited time. You know, smoked bacon, rich melted cheese. That Son of Baconator is only $3. Thank you to whoever wished upon that star. For bacon that just won't quit, gotta be Wendy's.
U.S. pricing participation may vary. Prices may be higher in Alaska and Hawaii, not valid on a combo or on third-party delivery platforms.
But what he'll never have is the love I have for you.
What he'll never have. The smash hit from Dylan Scott appears in the brand new album, Easy Does It. The album also features the #1 song, This Town's Been Too Good to Us.
This town's been too good to us.
Until I Can't, I Will.
I'll do whatever it takes. Yeah, believe me when I say till I can't, I will.
Dylan Scott. Search, follow, and listen now on all music streaming services. Sponsored by Curb Records.
An Australian hiker travels to the American West to walk a wilderness trail.
Wasn't afraid to be out on his own.
But Eric Robinson vanished in the high Uinta Mountains.
I remember thinking, Eric, what were you thinking, mate?
I'm Dave Cawley. Join me on my podcast, Uinta Triangle, where I travel the world to answer the question, what happened to Eric Robinson? Follow Uinta Triangle. That's UINTA Triangle on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen.
At SMUD, we power local business with incentives on clean energy equipment, tools to manage electricity usage and save money, tailored solutions from dedicated strategic account advisors, and 50% lower rates than neighboring utilities, all while doing more for the planet with clean energy solutions, savings, reliability, personalized service, clean energy, helping local businesses thrive. That's our clean power promise. Learn more at smud.org.
Hey, Green Gobbler here. So you've got a clogged drain in your bathroom. Water in the sink's overstaying its welcome. You're spitting today's toothpaste on top of yesterday's toothpaste. You hope that it go away. Yeah, clogs don't just go away. I make them go away. I'm Green Gobbler, the only clog dissolver you need. I'm bleach-free, safe for your pipes, and I work. Guaranteed or your money back. Because I never met a clog that was going to unclog itself. Green Gobbler. Let the gobbler get it.
Drivers who switch and save with Progressive could save hundreds. With that kind of money, you could go big time on a fancy water bottle with ultra titanium alloy metal. You're not sure why you need all that. I mean, it just holds water. But you're getting it anyway. Because if you're hiking near an active volcano and you accidentally drop the bottle into molten lava, your water will still be icy cold. Switch to Progressive and you could save big time. For water bottles. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in all states. Potential savings will vary.
People are coming from all over to Sacramento, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, from Folsom, Elk Grove, Woodland, Roseville, because they've seen for themselves the huge selection and the best prices at SacSuperstore.com. Good luck finding a lower price anywhere else. And if you do, they'll match it. It's as simple as that. Sacramento, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, where a handshake still means something. Open until 10 o'clock and essentially located right across from Hagen Oaks Golf Course. And online at SacSuperstore.com. The guaranteed lowest price and the best selection of Dodge, Chrysler, Jeeps, and Rams. SacSuperstore.com.
I'm Ken Korak with your Green and Gold Report, brought to you by Comcast Business, powering possibilities. Well, when the A's broke their losing streak to finish the last homestand, it was a special day for Logan Davidson and Willie MacIver. Each guy got his first major league hit. And for MacIver, who grew up an A's fan, he drove in the go-ahead run in the bottom of the 8th inning and threw out the potential tying run to end the game. A storybook finish to a special afternoon. Comcast Business helps turn today's small businesses into engines of modern business. It's how restaurants become reliably up and running neighborhood favorites. It's how retailers become seamlessly restocking, cyber-securing must-visit shops. And it's how healthcare offices become data-managing caregivers that we all depend on. With reliable connectivity, enhanced cybersecurity, advanced fiber solutions, and Wi-Fi backup, Comcast Business is powering the engine of modern business.
Summer's almost here, and so are popsicles, pool days, and a lot of smiling. Make sure your kiddo's smile is ready with a visit to Kids Care Dental and Orthodontics. Our expert team makes dental visits easy and fun with sensory-friendly hours for kids who need a calmer environment. We can also accommodate same-day treatments. And to save you time, if your child needs multiple treatments, we can often do them all at once. Appointments fill up fast, so don't wait. Beat the summer rush and schedule online at kidscaredental.com. That's kidscaredental.com, where healthy, happy smiles begin.
Carmichael Dave here. Golfers, listen up. Timber Creek and Sierra Pines, my go-to courses in Sacramento, just dropped the best ball deal of the year. Now through June 15th, when you stop by Timber Creek and buy 2 dozen Strixon golf balls, you get the 3rd dozen for free. I did that last weekend. We're talking the same Z-Star series used on tour, plus Q-Star and Soft Feel, whatever fits your game. It's the perfect excuse to stock up, hit the range, play some of the best conditioned golf in the region. Head to Timber Creek today and take advantage before it's gone.
KHTK HD1 Sacramento, KYMX HD3 Sacramento.
Your home for Kings basketball for over 25 seasons.
Hammer time thrown down by Malik. From the Power Business Technology Toshiba Studios.
Sacktown Sports, 1140. Your home for Kings talk and so much more.
Live and local.
Allen Stiles on Sacktown Sports.
1 o'clock on the dot. And as promised, we are breaking down the Kings salary cap situation, some of their flexibility, some of the moves that they should or should not make. And we are doing it with salary cap analyst of the thirdapron.com, Yasi Goolin. Yasi, thank you for joining us. Happy Monday.
Thanks for having me on today, Alan.
Let's start here, Yasi. Can you give us your thoughts? I have people tagging me in your YouTube video, and you do great work, of course. Love having you on. People were tagging me in the video that you made with the Pelicans moving up in the draft and acquiring Domantas Sabonis, and basically saying, hey, Alan, what do you think about this? And the conversation of what the Kings would get back. I have it right here. CJ McCollum, Jordan Hawkins, a couple first-round picks, $8 million saved. Kind of break down your thought process on that deal.
So that video is just mostly in the perspective of the Pelicans, that I could see them going after a guy like Sabonis or even Şengün if they're going to help facilitate a Giannis trade. I could see them going after one of those types of bigs. And then in facilitating a Giannis trade, they have the Bucks picks. Maybe they can leverage that to move up in the draft. As far as like so that was mostly just like what's required from the Pelicans, I think, value-wise, salary-wise, to get a deal done. Wasn't so much something that I think the Kings would do, especially because if, let's say the Kings do get to the point where they need to trade Sabonis, and this is one of the best offers they can get, and I actually think like draft picks-wise, that's a pretty good value. I don't think they're going to want to bring back CJ McCollum. I don't think they're going to want to bring back Jordan Hawkins. So like, I'm just kind of saying what the Pelicans would be sending out to make the money work. And then the Kings would probably get something else. They'd probably get a guard, like an actual point guard back. They'd probably want to get a wing back, or they, if they're trading Sabonis, they're going to need a big man back. So, so yeah, not so much like that's mostly in the perspective of the Pelicans.
Yeah.
I don't think the Kings are going to trade Sabonis just yet, but if I'm sure they're going to go get a guard, try to get another wing and run it back. And if things don't work out, maybe by the trade deadline, that's something the Kings could decide to do.
Yeah, well, obviously you never know. Everyone says, well, now that Luka got traded, you really never know what could happen. Talking to Yasi Goolin, NBA salary cap analyst for the thirdapron.com. And speaking of the offseason, Yasi, why are there so many rumors, you think, right now about the potential of this offseason being so big? Is it just the names are out there? Is it the CBA and, the first apron, second apron, people trying to get under the luxury tax? Why is it that there's so many rumors about this offseason possibly being filled with fireworks?
I think this is kind of the story every offseason now. There's a lot of hype that there's going to be a lot of moves at this offseason is going to be the biggest ever, and then the trade deadline is going to be the biggest deadline ever. And in some degree, for the most part, I always kind of keep my expectations lower because over the past few years, there's like not that much cap space. It's not really a thing teams are doing to go after players anymore, build their teams. Now every team, they're just extending all their players. They're like most teams are already like right at the tax with the full rosters. So I think what people are pointing to this offseason is that there's kind of a bottleneck of there's too many teams with too many expensive rosters. They need to do something, but there's not a lot of money to go around other than like the Nets. They are the only team with cap space. So there's going to be some type. I do think that I've stopped trying to, every year I kind of keep my expectations low, but they always get surpassed. So I know there's a lot of hype that this is probably going to be one of the biggest off seasons. And right now, it's hard to see like exactly what that would entail, but somehow it always comes true. So it might end. So yeah, I could see there being some really big moves ever since the Luka trade. Now, now I'll buy all the hype
right
ahead of any transaction period.
Let's talk some Kings specifically now. What do you think about DeMar DeRozan's value? We keep going back and forth. He's at a little bit over $24 million. We know he's an elder statesman, but only one team is going to get Kevin Durant, and there are a couple teams out there that just need a bucket getter. We've gone back and forth with DeMar's value. I feel like I've underrated it at one point. I've overrated it at other points. What do you think about DeMar DeRozan's value to other teams in the league?
I would say it's somewhere between mostly negative and maybe neutral at best, but like I would say more likely slightly negative, just because, and I think we may have talked about this before, he's just a guy that's very hard to plug into many teams. He's getting a little older. He's still got another year on the contract after this with a big partial guarantee. So as I look around the market, the Kings are either going to get, it seems like the Kings are going to trade him. They might have to package like a pick along with him to bring in someone that fits your timeline.
Yeah.
The question is, what are you going to target first? Do you want to get a better wing, maybe a little more defensive oriented to replace him? Or is that how you want to address guards, point guard specifically? But as far as like where he could go, it's really tough. I've seen people talk about teams like the Lakers or Clippers or Heat, and I'm not even sure those teams necessarily make sense. I wouldn't be surprised if it's like a bigger deal where the Kings get the type of wing or point guard they want, but DeRozan ends up on a team like the Nets or the Wizards that are rebuilding. Like the Wizards, they're like this dumping ground now for all these veterans like Chris Middleton, Marcus Smart. I think I'm missing someone. They had Brogdon. It wouldn't surprise me if like that's kind of where he ends up, like that type of situation. So the Kings can get the whatever piece they need to retool the roster.
Speaking of retooling the roster, how would you assess the Kings' path to success? And when I say success, I just mean making the playoffs.
It's going to be tough. And I think last time you had me on, I don't remember if it was before or after the Fox trade, but the big challenge with the Kings is that they've got Levine and the Sabonis making max level money. And, Levine, he's making like close to $48 million. I'm just looking at their cap sheet. Sabonis making $42 million. Like that's a lot of money for guys that aren't top 20-ish players. And that's already clogging up a lot of their cap sheet. So they already have a lot of challenges towards like what I think the two things they need to address, get a better three in the wing and get an actual point guard rotation. And I'm guessing they're not going to want to pass the luxury tax, but they're already heading into the summer like 20 million below it. So they're probably, I expect them to, get a couple guards, probably in the free agency market, trade DeRozan to get a wing, or, maybe it'll be the opposite, trade DeRozan for the guard, try to get a wing in free agency. I just struggle to see how exactly they're going to get back into the playoffs in a loaded West when you're already so limited with like trying to construct the back end of this roster with a budget. I feel like ultimately the next time the Kings make the playoffs, it's probably going to have to be sometime after they move at least one of LaVine or Sabonis and redistribute that money, because it's just too much money there. It's really limiting what they could do with the rest of the roster.
Yasi, last one for you, talking to Yasi Goolin, NBA salary cap analyst for thirdapron.com. I will say this. There's a lot of conversation going on about tanking, right? And with the Thunder and their situation and the Rockets being a 2 seed, everyone's saying we should just tank. We should just tank. What we talked about earlier on the show is, well, for every Thunder and every Rockets, they're the Hornets who have been tanking forever, and they're the Wizards who've been tanking for a very long time. I don't know what the Trailblazers are going to be. Do you think tanking looks a little sexier now because of the Thunder and the Rockets, or do you think it is still the best path to really get to the promised land, especially if you're a smaller market?
I think after this lottery where we saw the Mavs, who are supposed to have the 11th or 12th pick, move up to 1. The Sixers move up to 3. Who was number 2? The Spurs were supposed to have the 8th pick. They move up to 2.
Right.
I think that makes tanking less sexier. If you're one of these teams you just mentioned, like specifically the Wizards, the Jazz, that move down 4 spots instead of getting on top 1 or 2 pick, now that might change the strategy for some of these teams. Instead of trying to bottom out so aggressively, okay, maybe you still aim for a lottery pick, try a little harder, let your guys play in a bit more competitive environment, and then just see where the luck takes you, because this was absolute chaos. And I think now I'm sure there's still going to be teams that are going to be aggressively trying to bottom out, just because you want to have the best odds for a top pick if there's someone up there that you're targeting. But now this lottery may have changed how some teams, the degree to how aggressive some teams will bottom out.
Yasi, you're a numbers guy. What did you think when you did see the Mavs come up? Was there any thought of rigged going through your mind? Or hey, probability say anything can happen?
When I just felt like, what a bailout after everything they've gone through, after what they did, the most, like, talk about failing forward, like that. It just like, imagine if they actually got like a really good haul for Luka, along with getting Cooper later. That would have made like the decision to trade Luka look a lot better. That return was pretty weak, but it wasn't rigged. Obviously, they always show like how it goes after, but definitely not probably the result I wanted the least to get.
Yes.
One pick.
Yeah, I'm sitting there watching, and obviously the Kings were, got eliminated pretty darn quick, and I'm sitting there thinking, okay, go to the Eastern Conference, not go to the Eastern Conference. And I'm thinking, with De'Aaron Fox with the Spurs, I'm being a hater saying, well, don't go to the Spurs. I wasn't even paying attention to the Mavericks till the very end. And then I thought, this is actually worse. I wish it had gone to the Spurs just on principle, Yasi. But thank you so much for joining us. Be sure to check out all of Yasi's work on thirdapron.com. Be sure to also check him out on YouTube, always putting out great content. Yasi, will definitely have you on again soon. I hope it's a fast off season. I'm not sure if it will be, but sounds like there are going to be plenty of fireworks.
Thanks for having me on, Alan. Thanks.
That was Yasi Goolin, NBA salary cap analyst for the thirdapron.com. When we return, should the Kings make a move for Karl Anthony Towns? Should they just do it? And what does that look like? Allen Stiles, Sacktown Sports.
This is the story of the one.
As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Progressive knows when you're on your boat, you're already on vacation. And Vacation You forgets all your worries. Vacation You doesn't even keep track of time and knows that time is a meaningless construct designed to control us, man. But Regular You knows you don't want to be too far out in the water after the sun goes down because Vacation You doesn't know how to navigate in the dark yet. Vacation You and Regular You really need to get on the same page. So bundle your boat with your home or auto policy and earn an automatic discount from Progressive. And spend the savings on the both of you. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Allen Stiles. Watch the show on youtube.com/Sacktown Sports 1140.
Or listen on the Sacktown Sports app.
Thanks again to Yasi Goolin of the thirdapron.com salary cap analyst. If you just tuned in saying, dang it, Alan, I just missed it, it'll be up on YouTube shortly. Check it out on the Sacktown Sports app. If you don't want to wait, you can rewind on the app and on YouTube as well. Before Yasi hopped on the show, we were talking about Karl Anthony Towns and just the PR nightmare. So why not combine PR nightmares together with Yasi and the Sacramento Kings, or with Karl Anthony Towns and the Sacramento Kings, not Yasi.
We love Yasi.
We love Yasi.
We don't love Karl.
And I'm saying I think we're going to.
You really like Karl.
I think that I have a soft spot for people that I believe are getting picked on, even if they make more money than God.
Even though they're weirdos.
He's not. He's just Karl.
He's Karl.
He's just Karl.
He's Karl.
And went back to the locker room.
Yeah. Look.
The SEC. What do you mean?
I did love the joke when they were on Minnesota that it was like 14 feet of sucker down low. It was him 7 feet, Rudy 7 feet, and he's shaken the allegations a lot this year. I think he's a better fit as a true five than he ever was playing alongside Rudy, but he's still Karl.
Just do it. Sabonis for Karl. Just do it.
I will say Karl probably is a better player. I mean, Karl made All NBA this year, and
I don't know. I know the issue has been, well, the Knicks are saying Karl defensively, but I would have to think that Domantas Sabonis can follow directions. And that's not me. This is from the Athletic Report that Karl was not following directions and defensive schemes.
Yeah.
So even if Domantas Sabonis is not a great defender, I do feel like Domantas Sabonis can at least follow directions.
To make the money work, you're probably going to have to throw in Malik Monk. Are you prepared to do that?
That's crazy.
Karl's making $53 million next year.
That's not Malik Monk, though.
No, but
Domantas making 43.
Yeah, okay, so maybe it's Valanciunas. We sending Valanciunas with him?
Sure.
We're sending the Meat Brothers over to New York City.
Send them both. They're a package deal. Send them both over.
They're
We have the meats.
There we go. You're saying just send them both over there, and then they get Karl, and the Kings can
have Karl.
Have Karl as the number one. We're having all these debates about whether or not he could be a number two on a championship team. The Kings would be overpaying him to be their number one.
I'm cooking it right now.
Oh, wait. This would actually be perfect because you know how... Here's what we got to do. So you know how everyone's making fun of us for being the Sacramento Bulls and how we're just recreating the 2022 Bulls? You make that deal. You send DeRozan to Miami. You get back Andrew Wiggins, and now you've just recreated the 2015 Minnesota Timberwolves. Karl, Zach LaVine, and Andrew Wiggins. It's the 2015 Timberwolves all over again.
Because of the Kings and where they're at with the cap, Karl, at least on Fanspo, Karl for Domantas Sabonis straight up works.
The Kings are using a trade exception there, or someone's using a trade exception somewhere.
It straight up works. You are under the allowable incoming amount by $1.6 million.
But is Uncle Vivek going to get right close to that luxury tax?
You can get real close.
We're going to be real close.
Carl, Levine, and I guess you're keeping DeMar. Wait, let's just dig right in and make the worst defense possible. Karl Anthony Towns, Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, Malik Monk, and Keegan just guard everyone.
I don't know.
Everyone.
If you want the worst defense ever, you would just go trade for Mikal Bridges.
Oh, don't start. Keegan, go guard everyone. Go do it.
I would hate this so much. My God.
Why not?
Look, I'm sure Carl's a very nice person. Most people don't say that, but I'm sure Carl's a very nice person. If Carl was on the Kings, I'm not going to say anything like that I'm going to hold myself to. If they traded for Carl, I might consider quitting. I might quit that I don't.
Ridiculous.
I don't want to cover Carl, Zach LaVine, and Andrew Wiggins.
You're the one who put Andrew Wiggins on the team. Andrew Wiggins isn't on my team.
I know. I'm just making
his defense is too good.
I'm just making the joke. We're just reassembling the Timberwolves of 2016.
I'm telling you, get me Carl. Okay. If you move, you got Carl. You keep Zach. And then you make a move for, okay, just hear me out. If we really want to make this just a bad defense, right? Carl, you could start Valanciunas. So Carl, Valanciunas, you go find a way to get.
What? Wait, you're starting both of them? What? What do you mean,
No, we can't do that because Valanciunas and DeMar are going to get moved in the deal for Trae Young. So now you have Carl, Zach LaVine, Trae Young.
No draft picks.
Keegan Murray. That's your starting
and Keon Ellis.
And Keon.
Wow.
That's not a bad team.
Yeah, but you would have to give up like 8 draft picks to make it happen.
That's not a bad team. That is electric offensively. And unwatchable defensively.
I love how you were willing to just put Valanciunas in there just to commit to the bit of bad defense.
Yeah.
You're just like, we're just going to put Valanciunas at the 4. Why? Because he can't play defense.
Why not?
I could name a few reasons.
I do wonder, and I don't think that he's going to, he's not coming to Sacramento, but I do wonder as I watch the Knicks and all these teams, right? So everyone just said, and we had this conversation earlier about the Timberwolves. The Timberwolves are a Kevin Durant away. So are the Knicks just a Kevin Durant away?
No, the Knicks are a Giannis away. I'm joking, but no, the Knicks are right there. I mean, the Knicks could totally win the East if the Knicks ran it back with this exact team and traded Mitchell Robinson for whoever, because he's probably out the door. They could totally win the Eastern Conference next year. I think this team. We talked about this with Brunson. Do I think Jalen Brunson is good enough to be a number 1 on a championship team? Yes, I do. Do I think that will ever happen? No, I don't think Jalen Brunson will ever win a championship. That doesn't mean I think he can't. And because I think Carl is good enough to be a number 2 on a championship team, I think a pairing of Brunson and Carl can win the Eastern Conference. I think they might have to tinker around the edges a little bit more. But honestly, they could run back that same starting 5 next year, and I think they could win the Eastern Conference.
Everyone wants to talk about Kings ownership. And everyone wants to talk about the fact that there are some nepotism ties within the Kings organization. Now, I have never said that that is a bad thing, but it does matter how you go about it. Because in Utah, they're doing the same thing. We'll discuss when we return. Allen Stiles, Stockton Sports.
On the move? Got somewhere to be?
Take Sacramento Kings basketball with you. The Sacktown Sports app will let you stay connected to your passion. Never miss a moment of Sacramento Kings basketball with the Sacktown Sports app.
Golf to Go is brought to you by the Hagen Oaks Golf Super Shop. Here's Frank LaRosa.
I had the chance to interview former professional golfer and broadcaster Gary McCord a few years back. He hadn't yet enraged the Green Jackets with his television comments about their revered Georgia golf course. He was welcoming and above all humorous, which is why I recently picked up a copy of his book, Golf for Dummies by Gary McCord, a man possessed by golf's magical allure. This 5th edition will help new golfers learn the basics of the game and bring them, as he writes, from the darkness to the light. The book discusses types of clubs, types of courses, how to hit the ball, and how to keep score. The intent is to help you get the ball to the hole in fewer tries and with better form. You'll even find some basic exercises to get you into golf shape. It's a fun read and will help you get over some of the game's intimidation while getting you ready to visit the golf course on your own or with some friends. I always recommend a good PGA professional to guide you along the way, but Golf for Dummies is a fun way to approach a fun game. That's your Golf to Go. I'm Frank LaRosa.
Finally, an easy way to find home improvement contractors. Just visit subcontractorsunited.com and simplify your search for home services professionals. From cabinets to windows, roofing to plumbing, Subcontractors United is an easy, simple way to find and hire a home improvement contractor. And you never have to give up personal information. So no harassing phone calls like you get from those other websites. Subcontractorsunited.com is sponsored by D&D Cabinets and Savage Design.
Are you thinking about buying a new car? Well, maybe you're on the fence. Let me help you out. Kyle Draper here from Mercedes-Benz of Stockton. From the first time I stepped into the MP of Stockton showroom, I knew I made the right choice. I settled on the all-electric EQS SUV. It's comfortable, stylish, and most importantly, it's safe. Mercedes-Benz has the reputation of making the finest cars in the world. Now it's your turn to experience what I already know. Mercedes-Benz of Stockton is the best car buying experience you'll ever have. It's just a short drive down I-5 or anytime at mbfstockton.com.
Hagen Oaks wants to be your go-to total golf game fitter. Try the TrackMan experience, the very best technology to fit your metalwoods and irons. The new cutting-edge putter fitting studio with its $30,000 worth of technology is ready for your fitting. Hagen Oaks will help you find the best putter for your game. Hagen Oaks offers more technology, more choices, and more service. Schedule your fitting at the Hagen Oaks Player Performance Studio by calling 916-808-2531, 808-2531 for more.
When you're young, life is full of choices. Don't let opioids like highly addictive and deadly fentanyl take away your life with just one wrong pill. Addiction is a disease that can affect anyone at any age. But there is a choice to get help for this disease. Find medically proven treatment options, including virtual, at ChooseMat.org.
Come check out Capital Casino, Sacramento's #1 poker room with the most variety of table games in the region in a safe and friendly environment. Plenty of well-lit parking available, conveniently located in downtown Sacramento. And remember, Capital Casino has the best food, the best service, and the best action. 411 North 16th Street in downtown Sacramento. For more information, log on to capital-casino.com and please gamble responsibly. 1-800-GAMBLER.
Patrick was way behind on his IRS taxes.
I was in way over my head. The total amount ended up being somewhere just over $30,000. $30,000.
Then the IRS came to collect.
Started getting letter after letter. A lien had been filed against me. They were going to basically hang me completely out to dry.
He had to do something.
That's when I reached out to Optima Tax Relief.
Patrick's life quickly got a lot easier.
It was very easy, pretty much hands off. They picked up the ball and ran with it.
And how'd it go?
I couldn't believe it. I had to ask 2 or 3 times. I saved an incredible amount of money.
How does Patrick feel about Optima?
Couldn't be happier. They definitely helped me. Optima Tax Relief, the best place to call. They're the best in the business.
Do what Patrick did and call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. Optima Tax Relief. Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Allen Stiles
You can join the show by texting 916-339-1140
on Sacktown Sports.
So Jake Weinbach, when we asked the questions for Bovada, how do they come up with these odds? A lot of people think it's all BS. Jake Bovada, NBA analyst. Jake Weinbach.
Jake Bovada? That's the insider who's coming up with the ratings is a guy named Jake Bovada.
I would trust that guy.
That's the guy that you were asking earlier. How do they come up with these ratings? It's the all-knowing Jake Bovada.
Yeah. Jake Weinbach, who's covered...
Please, Mr. Bovada was my father.
The NBA for a very long time says the Raptors are one team to keep an eye on in a potential pursuit for Domantas Sabonis if the Kings decide to shift in a different direction. Toronto should explore all kinds of different avenues to upgrade the roster with playoff contention in mind next season. So that more so the beginning of that, and this is what people do, it's fine. The beginning of that sounds like it is a thing, right? The end of it sounds like it's just an opinion. So the beginning sounds like a report or source information. The end of it sounds like it's an opinion. Here's the beginning. The Raptors are one team to keep an eye on in a potential pursuit for Domantas Sabonis if the Kings decide to shift in a different direction. Here's the second part. Toronto should explore all kinds of different avenues to upgrade the roster with playoff contention in mind next season. So I don't know if he saw the Bovada odds first. I don't know what happened.
Where there's smoke, Allen.
That's right.
Which is the Raptors want a star.
That's right. And that is a big part of it. The Raptors clearly want something, right? And if they're unable to attain Giannis, how good is a Sabonis big three with Sabonis, Brandon Ingram, and Scotty Barnes? I don't know.
So here's the interesting point about all of this, because I thought the interesting part about the Bovada conversation we had, which, by the way, it's on YouTube if you want to see how Mr. Bovada lays out the odds, was that DeRozan, Levine, and Sabonis were all on there, which suggests that, like, outside of Giannis and Kevin Durant, the only, or I guess the next most plausible way for teams to acquire stars is if the Kings decide to blow the whole thing up. Now, what is interesting is I would say the best path for one of these teams to acquire a star if they don't get Giannis or Kevin Durant is to get in on this trade as a third or fourth team, because there's going to be some moving around of other pieces to Milwaukee in a Kevin Durant or in a Giannis trade, or to Phoenix in a Kevin Durant trade. So, like, let's say Giannis goes to, I don't know, let's pick an Eastern Conference team. Let's say the Knicks, just for the sake of simplicity, right? The Knicks would have to trade Karl and another player to get, and a bunch of picks to get Giannis. I don't know if the Bucks would want Karl right now, but a team like Toronto could then get in the game and say, we will take Karl and we will give you a bunch of draft picks. And now it kind of makes a little bit more sense. I think the Giannis and KD dominoes are going to affect a lot of the market, possibly for Sacramento too, because those teams that strike out on KD and Giannis, they may all of a sudden come back and say, we will give you 7 first-round picks for Domantas Sabonis, at which point the Kings have to say, okay, fine, we're going to take this deal.
Also wanted to break down something that came out this morning. Okay, the Utah Jazz are hiring Boston Celtics general manager Austin Ainge as the franchise's president of basketball operations, sources tell Shams and Tim Bontemps. Ainge has spent the past 14 years working in Boston's front office, including the last 6 in his current role. And why this is a big deal to me is because we've had Nepo conversations on this show before. And it is, in my opinion, always okay to Nepo. I've said this before, and I will say it until the day I no longer have breath. My goal is to make my kids Nepo babies. I think that should be everybody's goal. That should be every parent's goal. Not that they can't fend for themselves, but that you have been successful enough to where if they want to follow your lead in whatever capacity, they will have a leg up on the competition. Because it's tough. I know some of you are probably job searching right now. It's hard as hell out there. So the idea of nepotism, I have never had a problem with. Never, ever, ever, ever. Now, how you go about it matters. And how it is perceived matters. So Austin Ainge, well, Alan, why does that name sound familiar? You know why. Because Daddy Ainge is his daddy. So Austin Ainge, who has been with the Celtics for a very long time, he put the work in. I'm not saying he didn't. Being a Nepo baby doesn't mean you don't put the work in. It means that you get an opportunity. Explain this one to me. Austin Ainge had a successful basketball career. I'm looking up. I have it all pulled up right here. A successful basketball career at BYU. Okay? Austin Ainge was done in 07. In 07, Austin Ainge was done with his playing career. In July of 2009, he was named the first head coach of the Maine Red Claws, an expansion team in the NBA Development League. How in the world does somebody get a head? I get it. It's just NBA Development League. How do you get a head coaching gig 2 years after you are done playing? And that's fine. Austin Ainge could have went in, tricked off the situation, and it would have been, hey, man, there was an opportunity, and he messed it up. But he took advantage of his situation. So nepotism is alive and well everywhere. It's more so a matter of what you do with it and do you put in the work. We've talked about, I got to say it carefully, Nick Kerr out there with Santa Cruz. Obviously, Steve Kerr's son. A lot of people say, hey, man, dude puts in the work. Kirk Lacob running around with the war. Who's his daddy? Joe Lacob. So what the Kings have done and what Vivek has done with Anjali, it's not that it's unique and that nobody's doing it. A lot of these people are doing it. And it's not just sports, right? You see somebody driving around. Well, I ran into them. I can't remember their last name now. I'll just say Mitchell and Sons. What do you think is going to happen with the Sons? They're going to get the opportunity to own that company one day. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's more so about, do you go about it the right way? Do you put in the work that needs to be done after you're giving these opportunities and how it is perceived to other people? I was talking to a media member. This was during the season. And they said the thing about Kirk Lacob, yeah, Joe Lacob is his dad, and he's getting opportunities for sure. But everybody will tell. And I'm not saying Anjali did or didn't during that time. But going back to that athletic report and how the questions on who's actually making these decisions, and it just got a little bit squirrely, I would never hold it against somebody for giving an opportunity to their kid. Because, damn it, I'd do the same thing. But you have to understand what comes with those decisions. Joe Lacob says, hey, Kirk, okay, cool. You want to do this? Great. Hopefully one day you're sitting in my seat and we can keep this thing rolling. Now, everybody's going to look at you a certain way because of who I am. So you have to understand that. I saw a report that Bronny might be in the rotation next season. I know it was ridiculous, and people were upset. Bronny, he took away somebody's opportunity. What if Bronny actually can become a rotation player? I don't know, and I don't have to cover the Lakers, so I don't care. But he was given an opportunity, and he is trying to make the best of it. So when I see Austin Ainge, well, we see the name. We know what it is. And now he's getting another opportunity. He's still working with his father. He's with the Jazz.
Yeah, double dipped. His father got him in the door.
Yeah.
He's also only ever worked for the Celtics, the organization that his dad ran for 15 years.
And if I'm Danny Ainge, you know what they're probably running right now? Danny Ainge is going to dip, and he's going to go somewhere else, and that's going to give Austin an opportunity to be the GM with the Jazz.
I think more Danny Ainge is at retirement age more than anything else.
We saw the same thing with the head coach of Houston. Head coach of Houston signed a deal, and you can only do this at a mid-major when you've just transcended the mid-major. But the head coach of the University of Houston basketball.
Oh, Kelvin.
Kelvin Sampson signed a deal that said, when I'm done, my son will be the next head coach. That's in his contract.
Well, same thing with Belichick at UNC.
That is in his contract. Now, it doesn't say that you have to keep him for a certain amount of years. If his son stinks, he'll get canned. But it has never been, when we have these conversations about, he's letting his kid do this and they shouldn't be a part of it. It happens everywhere, and not just in sports, in all walks of life. All walks of life. But the perception and how you go about it and understanding how people are going to look at it, that's what matters. That's what matters. Look at, I just finished, what was it? What are we on, season 4 now of White Lotus? Arnold Schwarzenegger's 4 or 3, his son, right? Now, his son can get in the door and get an opportunity because of his dad, but they're not going to necessarily give him the part. Not White Lotus.
Yeah.
And he went and he killed that opportunity. I will always complain about this. I read this story that Idris Elba, it was one of his terrible movies, right? Idris he should have been Bond, didn't happen, okay? Idris Elba, one of his terrible movies, the story goes that his daughter wanted to be a part of it, right? The daughter wanted to be a part of it, and I believe play his daughter. So she auditions, and a lot of people were thinking, you're Idris Elba. It's not a movie that's going to be up for an Oscar. Just, give her a little scooch. Give her a little scooch to the front, huh? She auditions, didn't get the role. They hired somebody else. Idris Elba said, well, you got to earn this stuff, right? You can look at that 2 different ways. You can look at it and say, well, maybe she's just not good at all and never even should have had an audition, so Idris could go that way. Or you can look at it and say, if I'm Idris Elba, with everything else that's going on, my daughter's going to be in that movie, even if she's terrible. And I might be more in the latter side of that.
Yeah, I mean, in Hollywood, it happens all the time, but it's, I guess, more charming when it's the entertainment industry versus when it's like business operations and when it's like major companies and things of those sorts.
But it happens all the time.
Sure, but I understand why people are critical of it, because it's hard to make the point of Austin. Maybe you can make the point Austin Ainge would only have gone to Utah to be president of basketball ops because of his dad's situation and that level of comfort. Or maybe you could make the argument, if Utah was going to hire a president of ops, they would have hired someone other than him. It's tough to make that gauge because you've given Danny Ainge the power to do what Danny Ainge wants with the organization. So if that's the direction they want to go, that's the direction they're going to go. And I think that'll all even itself out based on whether or not Ainge Jr. can actually build a basketball team or not. I think that'll even itself out.
916, and we got to get to the other side. Whitey Gleason's going to join us. 916 says nepotism. Spoiled kids are rotten. Not all of them. Wouldn't that just be rich kids, right? Wouldn't that be rich kids? Not all of them, though. There is a way to do it where you can prolong your family name, your family wealth, but also make sure that you're not handing them things. Shaq will tell his kids, he said, my kids always say that we're rich. We are not rich. I am rich. But I'm sure Shaq has put them in plenty of situations where they have an opportunity to thrive. Whitey Gleason joins us to close out the show. Allen Stiles, Sacktown Sports.
On the move? Got somewhere to be?
Take Sacramento Kings basketball with you. The Sacktown Sports app will let you stay connected to your passion. Never miss a moment of Sacramento Kings basketball with the Sacktown Sports app.
I'm Ken Korak with your Green and Gold Report, brought to you by Comcast Business, powering possibilities. Well, when the A's broke their losing streak to finish the last homestand, it was a special day for Logan Davidson and Willie McIver. Each guy got his first major league hit. And for McIver, who grew up an A's fan, he drove in the go-ahead run in the bottom of the 8th inning and threw out the potential tying run to end the game. A storybook finish to a special afternoon. Comcast Business helps turn today's small businesses into engines of modern business. It's how restaurants become reliably up and running neighborhood favorites. It's how retailers become seamlessly restocking, cyber-securing must-visit shops. And it's how healthcare offices become data-managing caregivers that we all depend on. With reliable connectivity, enhanced cybersecurity, advanced fiber solutions, and Wi-Fi backup, Comcast Business is powering the engine of modern business.
The Giant Summer Sale is here. Get giant savings on our giant selection only at Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop.
Looking to own or lease? Save during the Giant Summer Sale and drive a brand new Accord or Civic. Visit us today at FolsomLakeHonda.com, your one-stop Honda shop.
As a family-owned and operated dealership since 2009, customer service is our #1 priority. Our customers love doing business with us, and you will too.
Folsom Lake Honda. Go to FolsomLakeHonda.com.
Your one-stop Honda shop.
Hey, it's Carmichael Dave here for American Energy, and oh my goodness, I'm born and raised here. I know it gets hot, but my goodness, we're already seeing 100-degree days. Listen to me. You do not want your system to conk out in the middle of June or July or August with one of those big 100-degree stretches. You want to make sure you're good all summer long. And my friends at American Energy Heating and Air can do that with a $24.50 tune-up right now. That's half price. And if you need a new system, $3,500 off, up to $3,500 off in rebates for qualified systems. They've been around since 1981, serving the greater Sacramento area. A+ with the Better Business Bureau. Call them right now, 916-520-9990. That's 916-520-9990. Jingle Singers, take it away.
Call 916-520-9990 now.
Live and local
It's Allen Stiles
on Sacktown Sports.
Whitey Gleason joins us.
The disrespect for Mr. Towns. New No Bounds on your show today. Carl. It's Carl Anthony. His name is Carl Anthony Towns.
That's more a me thing. I call him Carl.
His name is Carl Anthony, Allen. Come on. Show him some respect.
Oh, yeah, the dash, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Carl Anthony Towns.
It's Carl.
It's Cat.
I also say it kind of disrespectfully, too. Carl.
Yeah.
It's Cat.
Cat's acceptable, but Carl is just disrespectful.
Well, I'm the only one showing him any type of respect for his actual basketball game. They're calling him a loser out there in New York.
Trading Cat should be the #1 priority for the Knicks.
That's insane, right?
It is.
I'm just double checking here because, these guys, they have huge platforms and you start you start questioning yourself thinking, oh, maybe I'm not watching the game correctly, but didn't they get further this year than last year? And wasn't he the second best player on the team?
Yeah, they had a good year. And I know when you lose, you don't win the championship, you're supposed to say, oh, we didn't win it all, so we failed.
Mm-hmm.
But they had a good year.
Yeah.
It's just the ESPNification of the NBA is such that they lost. What's wrong with them? They're terrible. They're horribly flawed.
Well, I think that's what's so funny because the Timberwolves were not close to OKC. And Nasri did not play well. Julius Randle did not play well. But again, this is why we were joking about the PR. The Timberwolves are a Kevin Durant away. And everybody loves Ant. That's the biggest conversation.
Yeah.
So the Timberwolves are a Kevin Durant away. The Knicks, who, they got beat. They got beat by the Pacers, straight up. The Knicks, they have to not blow it up, but I don't know what they got to do. But Carl got to go. That's all I know.
Yeah.
Carl got to go. But so both teams didn't really compete that closely in their conference finals, one more than the other.
But they made it to the conference finals.
Right.
Yeah.
So how come the Knicks aren't just a Kevin Durant away?
I don't know.
And the weird thing with the athletic report that came out an hour after they lost.
I could tell that bothered you. I heard you talking about that.
No. I love drama. Like I said, the athletic, right? Some of these things that they come out with, and obviously we love the Anthony Slater and Sam Amick. Sometimes they are a more morally sound sports TMZ.
Wow.
Sometimes.
That is so journalistically irresponsible of you to say.
How?
Man.
The Athletic is a major publication.
Yeah, I'm saying sometimes it can come off like that. I'm not saying they don't do their homework. I'm not saying it's not well sourced. I'm saying they are hunting for clicks. They put out that article right after the game for a specific reason. That's the same thing TMZ does. I'm not saying that they don't go about their business. I'm not saying they make up stuff. By the way, TMZ always got facts.
Yeah,
Sure.
TMZ actually is pretty solid.
Yeah, they
Reporting
always
wise.
have facts.
Mhm.
Right, but you're just making the point of you're trying to get people to click on your story and give you money.
So you're saying it was
Yes.
sensationalistic?
Is this even a conversation?
It is.
They hit some. Whitey, they were sitting there itching, hoping that
Yeah,
that
they
the
were
Knicks
sitting
lost.
on a good story.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that. I'm saying that's kind of TMZ of them.
No,
Don't see it.
I disagree.
Okay. Well,
I think that's what they're supposed to be doing.
And
That
that's
is
what
solid journalism.
Yeah.
So where's the insult? I mean, you're trying to insult them by comparing them to TMZ.
No, I'm just comparing them to TMZ.
No,
but you're
Kyle is taking it as an insult. You guys are taking it as an
you
insult.
said it. You said what was the phrase you said? A more
a more morally sound.
morally sound TMZ. Even that is disrespecting TMZ, and
Yeah,
then
probably.
and then you're comparing them to TMZ.
I don't think not every article is that. I'm saying there are specific articles that they are trying to achieve.
Is it the
something.
timing that offended you? That
I would say
'cause
the
that's-
timing.
Okay.
I would
To
say the
me,
timing.
It's like that's pretty on the spot reporting. Hey, here's what's going on with the Knicks.
Well, people
We just
got on
knocked out.
People got on Ramona Shelburne when she did it with Westbrook
Mhm.
when the Nuggets were still playing,
Mhm.
and they were about to start. I think the series with the Thunder.
Right,
It's
but
the same idea.
that's more so the perspective that they're coming from, right? Ramona Shelburne comes from the Lakers background, where the Lakers don't like Russell Westbrook and have not nice things to say. That's not an indictment of the reporting itself.
Speaking of reporting, or at least things that are being mentioned that are masquerading as reports, what is going on today as we get ready to start the drive, guys, with Domas in Toronto? Is there anything there that I should even be aware of? It's caught fire.
Yeah,
on social media.
It was just and I don't know the actual order, but how I saw it was the Bovada odds that started it. Jake Weinbach had a report that kind of just turned into an opinion at the end, where at first it said, this is a name to keep an eye on. Then it essentially said at the bottom, the Raptors should be looking to do really anything.
Mhm.
So I don't know. All I know is this stuff doesn't show up out of nowhere. I mean, the three of the four shortest odds to go to the Raptors were Sacramento Kings.
But as you pointed out, I give you credit for pointing this out on X. Who does these odds? Where do they come
I don't
from?
know.
Well, we figured out today it's some guy named Jake Bovada.
No, it's
according
not.
to Allen.
It's not.
I thought his name was Buddy, but okay.
It's not. Buddy Bovada.
Buddy Bovada and Jake Bovada brothers.
Buddy Bovada.
Bovada
Whitey,
brothers.
what's coming up on the show today?
Today we're going to be looking at the Toronto Raptors and Domas, also the Toronto Raptors and Giannis. Is there anything there?
Mhm.
Yeah, and I'll also tell you why. Kind of an apology to any of my neighbors yesterday. May have heard me screaming at the TV. Why I was screaming at the TV while watching the A's yesterday.
The A's?
Yes.
I'll tell you what.
Worst team in baseball.
Yeah, you might as well. I was texting with someone earlier on the text line about the Women's College World Series, because we'll watch that every single season. Y'all need to be watching that instead of the A's right now. It's better ball. And I believe regionals for the college baseball regionals are finishing up today. You should watch that instead of the A's.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you.
Come on now, it's Major League Baseball. I mean, the
Is
softball
it?
is great.
I will
And
tell
the
you
A's
this right
games
now.
were entertaining the last 2 days.
Well,
They were
entertaining.
very
for
entertaining.
I'll tell you this much. When I do River Cats games, the jerseys that I see, not just as much, obviously not just as much as Giants jerseys, but what would come in second kind of with everybody else?
Dodgers.
No.
Yankees.
Nope.
Who?
The Party Animals.
Oh.
and the Savannah Bananas.
Oh, okay.
That's where we're at. So you wanna say go watch the A's lose baseball games instead of college softball when people are watching the Savannah Bananas pack out NFL stadiums, Whitey. I didn't even know they broke off into more. They have their whole setup. I believe it's in Atlanta or somewhere in the South, but then they have more teams. I believe they were just in Reno earlier this weekend. They're expanding, Whitey.
They should start a whole league. Maybe Allen Stiles has a spot in that league.
I can't do enough backflips and all the crazy
Banana
stuff.
League.
Yeah, all the crazy stuff that they're doing. I can't believe you guys tried to get on me about that athletic TMZ thing. I can't believe that.
Yeah, that was so irresponsible. of
No,
you
it's
to say that.
not.
You were
It's
Michael Huff backpedaling.
No, I'm not
on that.
backpedaling. I don't backpedal. I'm not a DB. I could have been, though. I'm not a DB. I love The Athletic. I'm subscribed to The Athletic. Some of their articles, we all got to get paid.
Some of their articles, what?
Some of their articles.
We all got to get paid.
Yeah.
Some of their articles, what, Alan?
Some of their articles.
Well, if they had reported Carl had defensive issues after game 2, it's not as big a story. This is like, I mean, it's not the exact same, but this is like when Amick reported the Fox stuff the day Fox returned to Sacramento. It's just posting a story.
It's different. It's different. What happens if the Knicks win the whole thing? Does that story get posted?
No, because the story was based on their end of season.
Some of their articles, and that's all articles. I'm just saying the Athletic is. We all hold the Athletic to a high regard.
You know what else? That Knicks win the championship article, it's not coming out.
No.
How dare them? What's wrong with it?
They would have found a way. It's about Carl to me.
Don't forget about my podcast.
Leave Carl alone.
Carl Anthony.
Carl.
After all that. Drive Guys coming up next. Whitey Gleason, Kyle Draper, Jay Johnson. Thank you to Yasi Goolin of the thirdapron.com. Be sure to check that out on YouTube and the Sacktown Sports app. Right. Until tomorrow, secure the bag. Like the beat. 66666.
Don't forget my podcast.
Gotta go.
Huge news. Right now at Wendy's, you can get a son of bacon